and gentlemen, let's go. Let's go. We ain't got no time to waste. Let's go. You are now listening to Jason Anderson, and you are in the zone.
You're in the zone with Jason Anderson on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Tunyon. Robert Tunyon flings it to Rogers. Rogers needs to get rid of it. That bounces, and it's picked up by a lineman in Zach Tom. Here's Toure. Samori Toure finds Aaron Rodgers. Rodgers to the 20. A flag is thrown out of bounds, and that's your ball game. There is a flag. We will check it, but that should do it.
You're in the zone on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
All right, a Monday edition of The Zone right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Jason Anderson with you, Josh Brisco, Beards. We head up until 2 o'clock. We've got you for the next 4 hours, a Victory Monday. Dominant Victory Monday for the Chiefs, 44-23 against the 49ers, a game that the line continued to move towards the 49ers. What was it, 1 point favorite for the Chiefs when that game kicked off, and whether that's the McCaffrey effect, whether that was sharp money coming in on the 49ers, either way, the Chiefs took care of business. And you know what? The bettors looked smart for a while in the first couple of series. Chiefs down 10-0. Kind of felt like they were a little lifeless. I don't know why. Just didn't feel like there was a whole bunch of juice there for the Chiefs until there was. And the Chiefs go and rattle off a 44-13 run against the number one defense in the NFL and a 49ers team that was motivated and locked in and ready to avenge their loss to the Falcons, and a team that they felt like they could match up against. And all the Chiefs did was go out there and just whoop them. That's what it was. It was a swooping. It's an ass whipping. It was a swooping. Yesterday in San Francisco. 913-3-810-810 is the phone number to be a part of the show, part of the conversation. 913-3-810-810, taking your phone calls first couple of hours. We'll talk with Field Yates coming up at noon. Mick Shaffer at 1 o'clock. Learn funniest best as well today before the show is over. A lot of stuff to get into today. We'll talk maybe a little college football if we get into it throughout the show. If not, certainly tomorrow we'll talk a lot of college football with our college football insider, with an interesting weekend of college football world. 913-912-4810 is the text line to be a part of the show, part of the conversation as well. 913-912-4810. You can text in too to join us. All right, let's get into the show, get into the game. Chiefs dominant in the victory. When they're down 10-0, it is almost like, well, got them where we want them now. All right. You guys ready to play? You guys ready to play? All right, let's go do it. Spotted them 10. Let's make this kind of fun. I know that we've seen the record for the Chiefs in games in which they're trailing by 10 points, like Patrick Mahomes' record. I'll probably do this tonight. Maybe somebody else has already done this. But I'd like to see what Mahomes' numbers are from being down 10 to the rest of the game. From the second they're down double digits to the, like, you would take the interception away, right? Interception led to them being down 10-0, and then, okay, what does Mahomes do the rest of the way now? Because I guess he started off 0 of 2, no yards, and an interception, right? Because the McCole Hardman was an incomplete pass, or was it like a 2-yard pass to McCole Hardman on the first drive?
Wasn't much.
Yeah, it was like it was either a 2-yard pass or it was an incomplete pass.
It was a screen to Hardman.
So a couple of yards?
I think so.
I think it was that. I wrote it down, but now I'm just going to go through the game book real quick, just as a quick aside, because rabbit hole we get into from time to time. Yeah, 1 yard. So he would be, after that, he would be 23 of 32 for 422 yards, 3 touchdowns, and no interceptions when they were down 10-0. I bring that up because we've talked about bleep you mode for Patrick Mahomes. That he'll go into bleep you mode, and at that point, it's kind of good luck. to the other team. I also kind of wonder, like, when they're down 10-0, is there more of Andy Reid and Eric Bieniemy, and whether it was, Kafka or now Nagy or Patrick Mahomes, kind of just like, all right, let me go. Let's just go. Let me do my thing and let's roll. Like, I'd love to see the numbers of what it looks like when they're down 10-0, because it kind of looks like he goes into a different gear outside of when he did not have an offensive line against the Buccaneers in the Super Bowl. So we know about that. We know about how good they are. We know the fact that when they're down, they don't stop. They don't quit. They don't give up. The defense still goes and plays and gets stops. That's a part of it. I mean, again, after the 10 points that they started with, the defense gave up 13 points the rest of the way. They could have continued to get, gashed. They could have not held the 49ers to field goals when they got down into field goal range. Few touchdowns. They could have easily given up a touchdown after the muff punt. It could have easily been 7. Instead, it was 0 at that point. They could have given up a field goal to Robbie Gould at the end of half before the sack and then the false start. And then the muff.
And then the big play.
And then the big play.
They could have given a touchdown there.
Right.
So no one would have blamed him.
Nobody would have blamed him, absolutely. So the defense had to make plays, and you wonder how much it's, one hand washes the other, that the defense is continuing to make plays because they know what the other side of the football looks like. They know that when the offense gets out there, they can continue to put pressure on the opposing team, and that team feels like they have to then keep scoring, so you feel like you can go out, get a stop here or there, and you're right back in the game. It's impressive that they are able to do that. It's not great that you want to keep doing it because it's, 3 games this year now they've been down 10 points. It's not great, but the fact that they know they can play from ahead, they can play from behind, they can play a back-and-forth game. It's one of the things they talked about late in that game about the 49ers. They are built to play from in front, and when they start to get behind like they did against the Chiefs, what do you do then? You can't win multiple ways. I'm not sure you can win a Super Bowl. We know the Chiefs can win any way possible. Slow game, track meet, back and forth game, down early, big lead early, whatever it might be. They've got ways to win, and Patrick Mahomes was brilliant yesterday. My big takeaway. Mahomes was awesome. Chiefs beat the 49ers, and I'm glad the game was what it was because it's 2 weeks of this conversation and coming off the Bills loss to then rebound like that instead of what was a little concern all week, and that I've said it's a scary, sneaky game, this Chiefs-49ers game, even though I picked it 37-17. It's a scary, sneaky. I still think I'm going to pick them to win by 20, but I think there's a chance that this one might be where it jumps up and bites them. And early on, I felt like that was the case, but it wasn't the case. And so they showed that they're one of the best teams still, and you're a play or two away, executing a play or two away from beating the Bills last week.
And in this game, you're a play or two away from basically pitching a perfect game. Mm-hmm. And you've probably seen the stat. Beards found it last night during the postgame show, but I just want to read it again because it doesn't make any sense. It seems impossible. From NFL research. This is the highest quarterback win percentage, including the playoffs, since 2019 with a minimum of 10 starts.
Okay.
Patrick Mahomes.
Hold on. QB win percentage, minimum 10 starts.
Yes, since 2019.
Since 2019, okay.
Patrick Mahomes has the best winning percentage in football since 2019. 790 is the winning percentage for Patrick Mahomes whole cloth.
Okay.
Aaron Rodgers is second with a 733 winning percentage.
Mm-hmm.
At fourth is Tom Brady with a 698 winning percentage, just under 700. And third, with a winning percentage of 706, is Patrick Mahomes in games when his team trailed by 10 or more points. The other stat, I'm off the top of my head from where this was elsewhere, but I think the Chiefs...
It's amazing.
I can't remember what the Chiefs' record was with down 10 or more in this stretch, but the rest of the NFL, they're like 8 and... I think they might be... It's a bonkers number. I'll find the specifics. The rest of the league, though, is like 8 and 18 for a point of reference on how incredible it is that Mahomes can spot you 10 and since 2019 have a higher winning percentage than Tom Brady. That's also partially testament to the Chiefs, right? Mm-hmm. Wins are not a quarterback stat, but they can certainly be very heavily influenced by your quarterback. for the Chiefs to be in a position like this, where frankly, and look, I was telling Jason a little bit, but I know everybody cares. But like what I was thinking when the live lines were moving early in that game, the Chiefs being down 10 early does not scare me on a financial or on an NFL level. Neither way does that actually. I mean, it matters when we're talking. I made it quick, Beards. I made it quicker than Jason usually does. What? But
That's
it doesn't.
One of the problems you have.
I understand. It doesn't make any sense that a 10-point deficit in a league as full of parity as the NFL, in a defense, the Chiefs have played 3 top 5 DVOA defenses this year, in the Bills, the Bucks, and the Niners, and they gave the Niners fits yesterday. Mm-hmm. I think you could give the game ball to Patrick Mahomes. You could talk about him all day long. You could talk about the weapons all day long. I think we have to talk about the coaching because you basically neutralize Nick Bosa. And it is partially putting Patrick Mahomes on the move from point A to point B, moving the spot where they're rushing to. It is partially in a variance of ways of approaching him. Jerick McKinnon chips him and chips him and chips him and threatens to chip him, but doesn't, and he still dips inside and chips him and chips him. And then on 3rd and 20 on a screen, what does Jerick McKinnon do? He's in that exact same spot, and he just leaks out downfield, and all of a sudden now your 3rd and 20 screen is a first down. This was a masterclass at virtually every level. Maybe the running defense early on was not that, and then tell me how many times you thought about that in the second half. It's just a total team win in a total obliterating fashion against a very good football team that has a top 3 defense and a top 3 defensive player this year, and the Chiefs totally made you forget about that fact.
In the game against the 49ers, the Chiefs had a 103.5% offensive DVOA. 0 is average. 100% is, 100% better than average. 103.5% against the 49ers. There have only been 8 games since 1981 that have seen a team put up an offensive DVOA above 100. Now, mind you, the Chiefs are number 1 in that list. Against Cleveland in 2018, they had like a 113 or something like that. Aaron Schatz at Football Outsiders, he said his tweet earlier today, he said he is currently putting together a list of those highest percentage DVOA offensive games since 1981. He has not put the list out yet. I was looking to see if he had, but I know the Chiefs are 1 of 8 in yesterday's game. They also have number 1 in 2018. I'd certainly like to see of the other 6 games where Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs line up. But that's against the 49ers, and I know it's weighted for defense and all of that stuff, but they put up 44 against that team. They had opportunities to put up more points against the Bills and their vaunted defense. They were able to move the ball. Mistakes here or there. Some third down, lack of conversions that took place against the Bills. And that's one of the things that we talked about last week is, there wasn't a whole lot of panic from me coming out of that Bills game. And I didn't feel like there was a whole lot of panic from Chiefs fans either. Even, the sad fans from on, in, and about and around Reddit, Chiefs version, Beards had to supplement with the Broncos because there wasn't a whole lot of really sad, frustrated, mad Chiefs fans. It was back and forth game. Bills, Chiefs, 2 best teams. Feel like you can get them next time. And so it wasn't panic coming out of last week for me because I felt like there were opportunities that they just simply didn't execute. I don't know that Creed Humphrey just strolls down the field a yard too far on a touchdown to MVS. I don't know that it happens again. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. But in this game, those plays were executed. The offensive line was brilliant. They were really good in pass protection. 3rd down and longs, 2nd down and longs, picking up yards that set up 3rd and shorts where they weren't facing 3rd and 7s, 3rd and 7, 3rd and 9s on a particular drive where, like we talked about last week, the Chiefs on that first drive faced 3rd and 7, 3rd and 7, 3rd and 9 when they threw the interception. On 3rd and 9, Patrick Mahomes did. They converted 2 3rd and longs. On that drive, they were 66% of 3rd and long conversion. That's awesome. But you can't do 3 of them on the same drive. So they didn't have those happen. And when they did, they hit big plays. 3rd and 20. The Jerick McKinnon screen pass. I mean, Kyle Shanahan, I heard that part of it on the postgame show last night coming back from Sunday Sound Off when he was like, it's unacceptable. I think was the word he used on 3rd and 20, the screen pass to Jerick McKinnon, 34 yards. While I agree from a defensive standpoint, and if the roles were reversed, I would totally be on the same side as Kyle Shanahan saying it's unacceptable. But I felt like Andy Reid and Eric Bieniemy were in their bag yesterday. Yes. And I thought they called a hell of a game. And that play, and this is where the execution comes in. Mm-hmm. That play was set up by so many other plays where they moved McKinnon, wasn't in motion, they just had him step up to where he was like an H-back or whatever, and he was lined up offset of the tight end or the tackle, and he would chip and hit Bosa. He did it most of the game when they set him up like that. And they did it again. And he went to go chip Bosa, and he thought that's what was coming, and he just slides right past him. And the offensive line lets Bosa go, and they get out. They set it up throughout the game. McKinnon played it perfectly in his timing. The offensive line played it perfectly in their timing. Patrick Mahomes played it perfectly in his timing. That's the execution that the screen pass to Burton last week was not executed. Could have been a touchdown. It wasn't. If that happens, who knows what happens in the game? Maybe they beat the Bills. That's why I wasn't concerned last week, because I expect this offense to be more times than not executing at a pretty high level. And they did that in that game, and 3rd and 11 to MVS was set up by seeing what had happened already in the game by the way the 49ers were playing defense and their safeties coming down and attacking. To me, I think the Chiefs' offense is so much closer to yesterday than it was in Buffalo. It's not going to be the way it was yesterday all the time, but I think it's going to be like that or close to that more often than it was against Buffalo when it was a play here or there that you're just like, you just missed on that one. Just slightly lack of execution on this. Just barely missed on that one. They didn't do that yesterday. And that's how scary the Chiefs are when they are executing.
There is no execution errors anywhere that ended a drive in a meaningful way outside of, unfortunately, one guy who we'll talk about and one mistake from one other guy who I'll mention their names for the first time so far. I don't know if you heard Andy Reid talking about the interception.
I listened to the clips this morning.
We can get to it later on. Let me give you the short version. That was not Patrick Mahomes' fault. Through the eyes of Andy Reid, in as straightforward a way I've just about as ever heard him explain it. He said that play, he was asked about the pick. Mm-hmm. He said it was a learning experience for Sky Moore, and then proceeded to detail the route that Sky Moore was supposed to run there. Do you want to go ahead and play it? Yeah, let's go for it. This is Andy Reid being pretty darn straightforward about saying, hey, that one's not on Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, that's a great learning experience for Sky on that. So Sky's got a wraparound route right there, and we try to put everybody inside, outside. So you got to kind of work into that spot and know how to do it. And he got a little bit too high, and Pat trusts him. That was the positive part. So next time around, we'll knock that thing out. And they talked through it, and that was a good thing. So good learning experience. So
I was gonna run my route, but then I got high. Sorry, it's bad. Go ahead, Josh.
I wish they'd get Sky involved in the offense in a way that doesn't result in turnovers.
I was going to catch the ball on 3rd, but then I got high.
I think eventually, and I think this year, Sky Moore is going to be a real part of this offense.
Agreed.
I was saying on any fantasy show that would have me, hey, don't draft Sky Moore in a redraft league this year. It's not going to be quick. Don't rush this one. I'd like to see him get involved soon, maybe out of the bye. We'll see. But Sky Moore turned the ball over. And then later, Sky Moore turned the ball over, and Harrison Butker missed a field goal he's supposed to make. And then Chad Henne in the offense didn't get a first down, so Tommy Townsend got a little bit of screen time. Those are the three ways that drives ended for the Chiefs yesterday. And one of them was never really a drive, the muffed punt, but it should have been. I'm counting it because we talked about that on the Colts game just often enough. Those were two guys ending 3 possessions with 0 points. The defense stopped the slide after the muffed punt. The defense and the offense went and made it 10-7 instead of, what if on 3rd and 7 on that drive, right after, or actually, let's say 3rd and 1. 3rd and 1, the Chiefs used a timeout. They run 5 offensive plays. They used a timeout before 3rd and 1. That right there was the most nervous I was all game. It was, oh bleep, you're in your first 15 still. You got a situational 3rd and short, and you're calling a timeout because you're not sure how to. Okay, well then it's Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce for 27 yards. All is right in the world. They never let their mistakes compound. There would be a mistake and then a big play. There would be a turnover and then a touchdown drive. And then after that, every single thing was virtually perfect.
Let's go to Kyle, 913-3810810. Bring in Kyle as we're taking your phone calls the first couple of hours here the day after a Chiefs game. They win 44-23. Kyle, go right ahead. What's on your mind, sir?
Hey, thank you, Jason. Great show like always. You guys do a great job. The couple points I want to make in this game is the defense again. I think the defense is averaging 20 points a game. Our defense is a lot better last year, and what I saw better this game than I did last week's game is the pressure on Garoppolo. 5 sacks, 12 knockdowns is what I saw, so that's number one. Great job on the defense. Number 2 is the offensive line played a lot better, I thought, in this game than last week's game also. Patrick Mahomes had plenty of time and to throw the deep ball in this game. So I want to give credit to the defensive line and the offensive line, and I'll listen off the air. Thank you for taking my call.
Kyle, I appreciate it, man. 913-3810810. I agree with both of those points. Those are things that we're going to get into and talk about. We'll do that on the other side of the break. 913-3810810, taking your phone calls first couple of hours. Day after a Chiefs game, they win 44-23, head into the bye as they wrap up the, quote, hard part of their schedule, sitting at 5-2. I had them starting off 4-3. They're sitting 5-2. We'll talk about the offensive line, the defensive line, other observations, bigger picture as well, what it means for this team, for the AFC West, for the AFC. We'll get into all of that. Field Yates coming up at noon. Mick Shaffer, more Zone next.
Want to see more of The Zone? Watch the show live on the Sports Radio 810 WHB Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Twitch. The Zone with Jason Anderson.
I went to BYU, so every down's a throwing down. I mean, that's how that goes.
On Sports Radio 810 WHB.
We'll talk with Field Yates coming up at noon. 913-381-810 is the phone number to be a part of the show. Get to your phone calls here in a second. 913-912-4810 is the text line. Text says, that 10-0 start and the INT is on me, guys. Wasn't game ready with my white 15 jersey on. Once I put it on, 44-13 difference. Yeah, do better.
Don't let it happen again.
Just do better next time.
Learn from your mistakes. Don't make the same mistake twice.
Yeah, I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed.
I'm furious.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm thrilled because, you know what? Actually, hey, hold on. Let's work on this together. We basically just found the sports almanac from 2025.
Yeah.
So as long as that texter never puts the jersey on until the Chiefs are down 10-0,
right,
we can all jump on the live lines. We all get rich and the Chiefs win the Super Bowl.
Interesting.
All right, texter, test this out again against the Titans for me.
Yes. Learn from your mistakes, okay? It's same but not the same.
Repeat
same but
them.
different.
Different
but the same.
Well, if you caught that, the punctuation. I went back and reviewed the tape.
Adam.
We need to ask Taisha about that this week.
I will.
If we actually, he's on a bye.
He's
isn't
on a bye this week. I'll ask him next week.
I'll call him on his vacation personally on my phone and just say, "Hey, Adam, I need the inside info on this."
That's right. Text says, I saw a pretty good tweet from someone named Joshua Brisco yesterday that said, quote, "I'm worried about Juju only being on a 1-year deal."
Doesn't sound like a very good tweeter, but it makes a good point. So I don't know. Probably ought to follow them, I guess, at JB Brisco if I was guessing.
Mm-hmm. Text says, Butker must have thought the TD counted. He just went out and missed the extra point, as he likes to do, before he realized it was actually a field goal. No, I think the problem with Butker is if there isn't some sort of pressure or big moment, he's just like, let me just kick. Oop, shank, sliced. 62-yarder, banged. Oh, got to put this between the uprights to tie the game in the divisional round against the Buffalo Bills in a game I've kind of struggled at. Bang. 39-yarder before half. No win.
Third down, in fact. I mean, kickers are even good kickers are kickers.
I know. Texas, was that a chop block? Thought you had to be engaged. Should have been a 50 burger.
Yeah.
Well, it wasn't a chop block. It's an illegal block below the waist that they're emphasizing this year within the tackle box, as they have implemented the you can't go low on an offensive lineman out in space. Therefore, it can't all be one-sided, so you should not be allowed to go low on a defensive player when you're outside of the tackle box or the tight end box that's there. I thought it was questionable. Then when they put the little gray area around where the tight end box would be, I'm like, all right, well, if they're emphasizing that, then yeah, it was outside of the tight end box. I'm just not sure on that play what Jerick McKinnon's supposed to do other than the 49ers played it well and Bosa was lined up so far outside that you couldn't cut him. You were just going to have to try to block him, because if they do not cut Bosa, Mahomes can't hold it as long as he does and roll to the right for as long as he does to find Juju Smith-Schuster. Can't happen. Bosa would be there, and Mahomes would have to do something else. I don't know. The way that they're calling it, it looked like a penalty, at least from the way that they emphasized that and highlighted it in the game.
I just don't know if I've ever seen that called before, literally ever, out in space like that. I guess you could say McKinnon's got to let Bosa get closer. Like, you got to just bait him in, I guess. But a caller on the postgame show made the point that, like, hey, that is not a play where there is a present threat of injury. Which is different than, hey, look, if Andrew Wiley was locked up high on Bosa and McKinnon came in and took out his legs, that's a penalty, and it's a good one, because you can't have a defensive end blowing out his knee every single week, and that would happen every week if you're playing like that. The idea, though, of just two dudes in space, one-on-one, and the issue is where he was, and as opposed to the tackle box or the tight end box, I hated that call, because it looks like any football play, and I think this kind of goes back in some of the ref in the past or stuff that I don't want to spend all this week on, certainly, but like when plays that look like normal football start getting pointed out as penalties, and I don't mean the rock your head off kind of normal football, but like a low block from a running back on a much bigger defensive end, that's just what that's always looked like. You don't want to have guys get their knees blown out because their cleats get stuck, but Nick Bosa got blocked like that 100 times last year, I'd imagine.
Text says, I thought they said you can't do it inside the tight end box. No, it's legal.
I think the broadcast misspoke.
Yeah, it's
I
legal.
think that the texter might have heard the broadcast correctly, because I saw a couple other tweets about that. It needs to be in the box.
Yeah, in that gray area, you can do that. Outside the gray area, apparently, you can't do that. Found that out yesterday. Okay.
New to me, too. Never seen it called that way before.
Yeah. So now I know the distinction. See it, understand it. That's fine. The call before the break from Kyle, and then we'll get to some more phone calls, about the defensive line and the defense overall. Better than last year, the way they're playing, 5 sacks that they registered in this game against the 49ers, and also the offensive line, the play of what they were able to do and able to accomplish against the 49ers. Because we were just talking about the Jerick McKinnon play right before half, I want to start with the offensive line, then we'll get into the defensive line. Maybe it's because people were talking about him last week. Maybe it's because, they felt embarrassed. Maybe it was game plan. Maybe it was execution. It was a lot of things. But they played really well, and they held up really well against that 49ers defense. And I think the Chiefs coaching staff did a really good job of keeping Nick Bosa's head on a swivel. And
they bullied him.
They really did.
Dude, I mean, they chipped, they doubled, they used his aggressiveness against him, they ran right by him, and he's like, where did he go? Where'd he go? Where'd who go? That's a Top Gun reference. I know you probably don't get that.
I've seen it. I didn't recognize the reference.
That's right.
I've seen both Top Gun movies now.
There you go. And so on that, was it Clyde touchdown, when Bosa gets in there, it's like, where's he at? Turns around. Oh, he's got the ball. Touchdown. Dang it. I'll get him next time. Ha ha. The screen to Jerick McKinnon. I got you, Pat. Oh, I'll get you next time. I mean, it's just like, and then they would run, with the double team. Then Jerick McKinnon would chip, and they did a pretty good job of chipping. That Wiley did not allow the inside to happen when he had the chip help from the outside. I thought the offensive line played really well, and working in concert with Patrick Mahomes. I said it last week. It might just be anecdotal, but it seems like when Mahomes is on record as saying, I need to do a better job of going through my progressions and staying in the pocket and doing some of those things, that he comes out and just deals. He did it again yesterday. Again, it might be anecdotal that I just remember those times, but I expected him to have a pretty decent game in delivering the football, because when he focuses more on, I'm going to trust the offensive line, I'm going to stay here, I'm going to use my instincts when it's needed, but other than that, I'm going through my progressions, because that touchdown to Juju, he needed all that time. He waited, he stayed, he trusted it, boom, he pops open, 45-yard touchdown.
I already said this in the post-game show, and I told Beards to cut it, so I don't think we're going to have to mark this again for Friday, so I'm just going to go ahead and say the thing that I said again. I think we already have it some on the record. The Niners are a deep, penetrating defensive line. I think we got it cut already. They want to move downfield. Bosa wants to get deep penetration through the tackles, back around the tackle box, and kind of corral you in. By moving Mahomes on some of those sprint little boot kind of looking things, you are changing the point of impact. You are changing the angles for that entire defensive line. But it's not just running them out. This was, believe it or not, mentioned on the Athletic Football Show. Contrasting it to what the Steelers have done with Kenny Pickett some. They'll run a sprint right for Kenny Pickett, and then you'll see the exact same route concept like 7 times. The Chiefs are in that sprint concept with a different pairing of route trees. Every single time it was a different look, but it was still the same stuff that was challenging that pass rush. It also helps give your offense an advantage, because now your O-line knows what the angles are going to be. They can play with that to their advantage. And you have an offense that at this point starts humming, a defense that starts getting desperate, and all of a sudden you are literally playing games with, again, a top 5 defender in football is in a funhouse surrounded by funhouse mirrors. If you can make that happen, that is a huge boon from the coaching side. It's the offensive line playing really good football. If we get 40 minutes into a show, or maybe through an entire post-game show, never saying the name Orlando Brown Jr. after the offseason that was and the first few weeks of the season, that is a pretty good sign that he's playing good football again. And that doesn't mean you got to be able to beat all these guys in your one-on-ones all the time. It means you have to help the offense function. And the offense was rolling yesterday. That does not happen without the O-line. And also, we can talk later, I'm sure we'll get to all of the man-beating conversations we've had about this offense, you cannot beat man coverage if you do not give your quarterback time and give your receivers time to beat guys downfield. The offensive line did that yesterday in a big way.
Jungle Jack next up on Sports Radio 810 WHB here on a Monday. Chiefs winning 44-23. Jack, what's on your mind, man? Go right ahead.
Hey, fellas, happy Victory Monday.
To you as well.
Thank you. I just had a couple of points real quick about the game. First of all, the 49ers remind me a heck of a lot of the pre- and post-Joe Montana 90s Chiefs teams. And we saw this a lot from their side back in those days where you've got things going your way, you've got the running game working like crazy, you've got a turnover in a key time, and your running game is just running up and down the field. The defense is playing well, and you look up and you're losing by a point at halftime. And you're thinking, man, we are playing our nads off out here. It seems like we're doing good, and we're losing by a point. Well, we'll get them in the next half, and then it all just goes apart. And that's how many times we saw that as a Chiefs fan in the 90s, where if everything did not go to plan, the game fell apart, and it could fall apart quick. And it's so awesome being on the other side of that now, where you're just twisting the knife in as you're going up by double digits. So that's what they remind me of, man. It's like I'm not worried at all with Jimmy Garoppolo quarterback. And then my other point real quick is last time I called, I'm going to have to walk it back. I was bragging about Sky Moore in the return game. And I'm afraid he's completely shamed himself in that game. So I think giving him a break from that might be a good idea. So that's all I got, fellas. I'm Gandhi.
Jack, good stuff, man. 913-3810810. He's right. Those 90s Chiefs, I mean, run the ball, play action pass, play really good defense, win the game, special teams, win the game that way. But when you're trailing, good luck. Oftentimes. With Joe Montana, it was a little different, but those 90s Chiefs teams, when it went from Montana to Bono to Gerbach, when you're trailing, ultimately, good luck, especially the Bono era.
Jimmy Gerbach.
That's right. Jimmy Bono. Jimmy Garoppolo.
That's pretty good. I think Jimmy G. Gerbach would work, but that's a good point. That's a visual joke. Jimmy Garoppolo is probably funnier audio-wise.
But yeah, I mean, it does resemble that.
It really does.
And it's nice when you have multiple ways to win. You can play from in front, you can play from behind, you can play back and forth, you can play when special teams let you down, you can play when you've got some other things struggling that you can find a way to win. Down 10-0, the Chiefs say, no problem, hold my beer. And yes, I am ready for the Sky Moore punt returner to be done.
Want him in the offense.
Right.
Want to see him run around still.
I just don't want anybody returning punts. Put 11 guys up there, make sure they don't run a fake punt, and then let it bounce, see what happens. Goes in the end zone, you get it to 20. Rolls around, you get it wherever that is, because you might have called a fair catch anyway.
I wouldn't go that far.
I'm going that far.
I don't think you should, but I'd say to put back somebody who is caught passes before or caught punts before at a professional level, or even a collegiate level, which Sky Moore didn't do. Sky Moore can work on those in practice all day. Yeah, I would feed him to him in practice.
You know how I guarantee that Patrick Mahomes gets the football on a punt? When nobody on the Chiefs touches it.
Yeah, but it might be like the 1 yard line, and I just would rather not do that.
Great.
I'd rather have like just Marcus Kemp there to make sure it gets to like the 15.
Right. So that was at the 1 yard line. Where did he try to fair catch it? At the 5? The 6?
Yeah, no, I mean,
5 yards?
I personally am going to take the brave, bold stance.
Okay.
That there is some space between Sky Moore must return every punt and no one can be allowed to turn punts. I will occupy the space between. Beards can say Sky Moore should return every punt. You can say no one should return any punts, and I'll say I'll take the field.
Pick a side.
That is my bold stance.
Pick a side.
My stance is that there should be a player in a Chiefs uniform back there. He just shouldn't be wearing number 24 right now.
I think McCall Hardman owes Sky Moore some money because somehow people are now calling for McCall Hardman to return punts when for so long people have said, I don't trust McCall Hardman. Get somebody back there that can just simply catch the ball.
I'm not.
And that's all you need is just somebody to catch the ball.
I'm too scarred.
And even when McCall Hardman was back there, my stance was, how about this? Don't put anybody back there and just give number 15 the ball after you get a stop. Done.
Maybe give McCall Hardman like a big butterfly net or something, so he can just catch it in the basket and just run as fast as he can.
Or don't have anybody return punts. That's the way you guarantee 15 gets the ball. More zone next.
Follow the show on Twitter at J810Anderson, at JB Brisco, at Beards McFly, and at Sports Radio 810. The Zone with Jason Anderson.
Jason loves talking. I don't know about you, but Jason is a fan of Jason's show.
Weekdays from 10 to 2 on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
913-381-0810, taking your phone calls to the top of the noon hour when we talk with Field Yates for the next hour, 10 minutes or so. We'll also continue to get in your text, 913-912-4810. Caller in the break called in. It was something we were actually talking about at the exact same time. Had said, what about Trent McDuffie? And I think it was Trent McDuffie that Dave Tobe was talking about that, well, he's going to catch the ball. That's the one thing about McDuffie that you're going to get is the security of being able to catch the ball. Sky Moore's never done it, but, blah, 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 blah. McCole Hardman gives you some more explosiveness and use them kind of like they used Tyreek Hill last year. Maybe that was the answer. Maybe we're talking about Sky Moore returning punts because he's the backup punt returner because it would have been Trent McDuffie the whole time. And if that's the most sure-handed guy, as if there's one thing I know about this punt returner is that he's going to catch the punt, that's my guy. I don't care who it is. Don't care who it is. If it's Creed Humphrey, if you say he's going to catch the ball every time, then I need number 52 back returning punts every time.
I understand that you want to have some explosiveness back there, and you can find someone with some explosiveness. It's just the fact that Sky Moore didn't do it in college and now has had this issue pop up in two separate occasions.
Tex says
I don't know how you can trust him in a big moment right now.
Tex says, and by the way, I didn't know, I was starting to doubt myself when we came back on the air, but Tex says that wasn't about Trent, it was about Watson. Cool, done.
Oh, cool.
And Justin Watson, cool.
Him too.
Go catch it. I don't care who. But for whatever reason, I thought it was McDuffie, because McDuffie was returning punts in the preseason. And so it's like, okay, maybe he offers something more than Sky Moore. But
I don't remember Tobe saying this phrase about anybody, so I'm just here to agree with any suggestion you guys come up with. If it's McDuffie or Watson or Cornell Powell on the practice squad or Marcus Kemp or whatever, man.
This is when the punt return was going on, where it was in practice with Sky Moore, Justin Watson, Trent McDuffie, McCole Hardman, and it was like, there are some issues with guys that are back there and dropping the punts. Yeah. And Dave Tobe talked about it, and I remember him saying that, well, the one thing you know about him is that he's going to catch the punt. And I just remember at the time going, okay, there's my perfect punt returner. I've created a punt returner in the lab. He catches the football. That's it.
If it's a created character in Madden, it's just catching 100. Nothing else matters.
It doesn't matter.
Nothing else matters.
I haven't created his size. I don't care about agility or speed
Vision,
or burst.
0. Speed,
Vision,
0.
nothing.
Agility, 0. Catching 100.
Done and
his name
done.
is just first name punt, last name returner.
That's exactly right. Text also saying, agreed, I just don't want Trent getting hurt. Yeah, I mean, at this point, you don't want him back there because you'd like to see him healthy for an extended period of time and not injured for an extended period of time. I was a little surprised he did not play yesterday. I thought...
For the second consecutive week, so was I.
Mm-hmm. Way more surprised yesterday than last week.
Don't worry, guys. He'll play this upcoming week.
Bears have some terrible news.
What's that?
I can guarantee beyond the shadow of a doubt that, unfortunately, Trent McDuffie will not play football this weekend.
Yeah, he will. I mean, they've already had 2 games. You're not going to keep him out for 3 games when the window opens, right? It's not 3 weeks after the window opens.
I will say, on that, obviously, there's a bye week next week. I do think that he has to be active for the Titans game just based on the practice window opening up. I think it's 21 days, right? So I think McDuffie has to be active, and Andy Reid also said in his brief little injury thing at the beginning of the presser yesterday that he's expecting McDuffie, Dana, and Fenton. He said they should be back when we're back. I think at one point he said next week, and someone was like, So it sounds like they should get 2 starting corners. I know that Fenton's been up and down, but just like from where they were at the preseason, 2 of their preseason starting corners and maybe a preseason starting defensive end should all come back. And the defense looked okay yesterday without those 3 guys.
Per the Dallas Cowboys Twitter account, Jordan Lewis is out for the year with a foot injury.
That's not fun. I thought that might be fun.
Text says, another text comes in and says it was Justin Watson that Dave Tobe was talking about, that he would be able to catch the ball but not really do anything else.
Thank you, Texter. That was the breaking news.
Oh, okay.
The breaking news that it was Justin Watson that Dave Tobe talked about.
It was not Trent McDuffie. Breaking news.
Hey, you know what? Try him too. Although Justin Watson makes sense. Like, he's on the active roster. He's catching passes.
Right. And he's not doing much in terms of reps. That's why they talked about McCole not returning punts, is that he's getting a lot more work on offense. He had the heel injury, so he wasn't doing as much work. But you take him off punt return, Because he's getting more work.
Justin Watson
not doing that.
4 catches, 2 touchdowns.
Yeah.
This Chiefs team is fun.
Text from earlier that said it was about Watson says, wow, that hurts. You didn't trust me?
You need 2 sources, Texter.
That's right.
You need 2 sources.
You were the source that led us on the path. You gave us the little nibble. We had to then follow to see that it was
hold on.
Watson.
I'm sorry. I just got a text that said it was about Eddie Kinnison. That's weird.
Dang it. I thought it was Dante Hall.
The only place to... The Zone with Jason Anderson.
Turned out he went 20 minutes in his opening monologue. Like, come on, that's too long. You don't need to be talking for like 20 minutes in a monologue, guy. I mean, jeez Louise. Let somebody else have the mic a little bit.
Weekdays from 10 to 2 on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Nine 913-912-4810, the text line to be a part of the show. We'll get to some of the texts throughout the show. 913-381-0810 is the phone number to join us for the next hour. We'll talk with Field Yates coming up at noon. Mick Shaffer, 1 o'clock. Learn funniest, best coming up in the 1 o'clock hour as well. So we did not get a chance to talk about the defense. You know, we were discussing the offensive line, defensive line. We got a lot into the offensive line and what they were able to accomplish, how they played, protection of Patrick Mahomes, the running game, the holes that were opened up, the way they worked over Nick Bosa in that game, and, of course, along the way to scoring 42 points. And the defense we haven't really talked about, and specifically one of the callers earlier, Kyle, that mentioned the defensive line and how they played and the 5 sacks that they got on Jimmy Garoppolo. They are now pacing for 43 sacks this year, which is about 10 more than I thought they would get, simply because of the way they approached it in the offseason. Karlaftis, drafted, okay, but more of a guy that's going to be, you know, as we know, a motor guy, going to continue to get better and better and better, hasn't played the game for a long time, not a quick impact type player, coverage sacks, things like that. Frank Clark's going to start opposite him, a shell of Frank Clark, who they thought they were getting. Can Chris Jones get help? Is it going to be Melvin Ingram? It's Carlos Dunlap. Okay, 34, 35 sacks maybe this year. But they've been really good, and the sacks yesterday certainly helped out, and the safety by Frank Clark in that one possession when Clark gets the sack on second down. He and Colin Saunders meet at Jimmy Garoppolo, and then he just beats Trent Williams around the edge, just sprinting past him, and Trent Williams can't catch him, and Garoppolo holding on to the football. And I know they were talking about, like, well, Garoppolo, you know, you got rid of the football on the broadcast and, you know, the clock and in the end zone. You think Garoppolo thought Trent Williams was going to get beat that quick by Frank Clark? If any quarterback were like, I got time, my blind side is Trent Williams versus Frank Clark. I got time as long as I can see the other guys on the defensive line and nobody's blitzing me. There's no way he thought that Frank Clark was going to just run around Trent Williams like that.
I would have made a sandwich back there before I tried to throw the ball because Jimmy Garoppolo could have. That's sort of the funny thing about the pass rush. And frankly, I wonder with the benefit of hindsight if the Chiefs' defensive line especially was significantly more effective yesterday, or if the quarterback across from them was significantly worse at limiting that impact. Because Josh Allen shook off some hits. Josh Allen got rid of the ball quickly a few times. Josh Allen was backed up in his own end zone, and then what happened? For Jimmy Garoppolo, I just think there's no threat for him to avoid or evade much of anything pressure-wise. Now, none of that is to cut down what the Chiefs actually did. Chris Jones finally got a strip sack that he had, so cruelly taken away from him.
And by the way, for me and you on our zone over-unders, he's pacing for 13 now.
We're back, baby. We're back. Yeah. The Chris Jones DPOI campaign continues. A lot of that coming off the edge, which has been a part of his whole, basically since Spags got to town, he's moved Chris Jones around. But a lot of production on the edge for him. Even Karlaftis kicked inside a couple of times with Mike Dana being out. I wonder if that'll change down the line. But it was certainly at least a little more productive. But also, you've got to finish. You've got to clean up against quarterbacks like Jimmy Garoppolo, who are not going to make you look foolish with their legs, with their mobility. They were able to do that consistently. The blitz was not as effective as it has been in the past. I don't think they went to it as often as they have in the past, which is a gift. And I don't think that I am still very much not here for some big Frank Clark resurgence storyline. I think that ship has sailed. But that one rep around Trent Williams, I think we've seen that kind of rep from Frank Clark single-digit number of times in Kansas City, and maybe not at all since 2019. And to see that in a moment where he put points on the board was awesome. Again, please don't bet on Frank Clark to look like young Frank Clark in the playoffs or whatever. Don't expect 5 sacks a game from him. He's not Derek Thomas. But if he can get you 1 or 2 big plays every once in a while, the Chiefs have a lot of guys that if they can get you 1 play a game, you'll take it. and then you have number 95, who's out there to get you like one play per set of downs.
Must be the 49ers and Jimmy Garoppolo that Frank
That
Clark.
must be it, I guess.
There's blood in the water.
I guess you're right.
There's blood in the water.
Yes, that's true.
Clark the Shark. He gets Jimmy G. Super Bowls and regular season games, doesn't matter. Tex says, McCole has confidence now. Prior, he didn't. He can do it. Same text says, texting in all day. Got nothing else to do. Same texter says, sometimes I wonder if you guys blocked me, and I'm just talking to myself.
Texter, you've proven it. You're sentient.
Yeah, see?
You did it, Texter.
That?
You're real.
Another text says, any clue why Willie Gay wasn't starting? I think it's a matter of missing 4 weeks, right? He played like 44% of the snaps in the game.
Yeah. Darius Harris was out there some when Gay wasn't. More often, Gay just wasn't out there. You know, they were already running. They already run with fewer linebackers pretty frequently. I think they went pretty heavy pretty frequently, though, with the Niners because that's a pretty heavy personnel team with all the tight ends, with Juszczyk and all of that. So I just think it's a rust thing. If Willie Gay is not playing in the 90% range against the Titans, come back to me. Because then, at that point, that's something. I think yesterday it was Spags acknowledged rust.
Yep. So... And they were
Good
fine.
question, though.
And they were fine, yeah. So 913-912-4810 is the text line to be a part of the show, part of the conversation. Let's hear from...
Chris Jones did talk about playing off the edge, if that tempts you at all.
Yeah, let's do that. Let's hear from Chris Jones talking about playing and producing as the defensive end, the edge rusher that we've seen the last couple of games.
You know, Spags called the defense. We just try to give them different looks. You know, I got a heck of a supporting cast with me. I got Frank Clark, Carlos Dunlap, and Colin Saunders or Derek Nottie, and they cause a double team on them, which frees me up to get a one-on-one, or the scheme that Stats run forces me to get a one-on-one. And my job here is to win the one-on-one.
And he's been doing that on the edge. Is Chris Jones the best defensive end on this team?
Yes.
And should they move him to defensive end?
Unironically, yes, he's absolutely the best defensive end on this team, obviously, last year. I think it was Matt Derrick who mentioned last week that it was a bummer that he was hurt last year through that experience.
Was a wrist injury?
Because if he's healthy, that might have worked a little better. I said it as recently as last week. The Chiefs don't want Chris Jones to be on the edge if they don't have to because pressure up the middle is really bleeping valuable. But I do think it's worth noting that it's easier to get one-on-ones when you're on the edge. It's harder to devote all that attention to you.
The thing is, though, they clearly view edge pressure as more of a factor than pressure up the middle because they wanted to move Chris Jones to defensive end last year.
I still think that's largely out of necessity. I think that is a weakness coverer.
But they were taking their best interior pass rusher that can produce that pressure up the middle and then moving him to the outside. And they also do that now in games when it's an obvious pass rush situation.
Right.
And he's been beating the right tackle.
Right.
He's
the
been doing a
matchups
good
over
job.
there are good.
Yeah, so
Absolutely.
I think they do view it and say the best pressure or the most impactful pressure is coming from the edge, and maybe Spags looks at it and says, well, I can blitz, in one of the gaps in the middle. I can't get somebody to win one-on-one against a tackle when it's Carlos Dunlap or George Karlaftis or Frank Clark. I don't know, but it's clearly working. Whatever it might be, it's clearly working that them moving at Dunlap or Karlaftis or Frank Clark inside, blitzing in on the interior, and leaving Chris Jones against a tackle one-on-one in those obvious passing situations. Because even when he's not sacking the quarterback, he still has got there and disrupted the quarterback as well. And it also allows for other guys to get opportunities to make plays when they are sliding the blocking to Chris Jones' side, and somehow it leaves George Karlaftis free, and he gets pressure on Jimmy Garoppolo, who for some reason throws the ball up in the air, and Joshua Williams intercepts it at the goal line. That's a play that, Karlaftis gets there. Not sure why they didn't block him, but he gets there. And they also had a blitz coming from behind him as well. I can't remember who the player was that was right behind Karlaftis. But either way, they got there, and he throws it in the air, and it's an interception. So, yeah, I'm liking what I'm seeing for the most part with the pressure they're putting on the opposition and the quarterback. But then there are really frustrating times when it feels like they just had no chance of getting there, like the touchdown from Josh Allen to Knox last week when there were 5 seconds And even when he threw the football, there still wasn't anybody close to him. It was still like, wow. I mean, he could have done anything he wanted back there. Could have made a sandwich while he was in the pocket waiting for somebody to get open.
Yeah, I think I am still probably a little more skeptical than optimistic about the front four, at least from a consistency standpoint. But again, you win a couple of moments, and all of a sudden that can that can change the direction of the game in a meaningful way.
Mm-hmm.
I think the main thing we've learned about Spags over and over, what we've seen with Chris Jones and him moving around, they want to be multiple. They want to show you different looks. They don't want a front five to get used to seeing the same 4 guys lined up in the same spots all day long. You want to try to create some of those miscommunications, and then you start bringing you bring one extra guy. Now all of a sudden the communication's all screwed up. Chris Jones has moved around. You find your weapons in different places. You test different matchups. Staying fluid that way, I think, is always going to be a good thing for this team.
I want to hear, this was a fun conversation that Juju Smith-Schuster was having at the podium about the chemistry and building that and what's been going on. Here's Juju Smith-Schuster talking about that chemistry being built and kind of the secret sauce behind why they've been able to work in concert this year.
Oh, man. Dude, you want to talk about, like, chemistry and trust? Yeah, so we started off in Dallas. You know, we worked out there. It was pretty cool. Pat got his like own little facility. I'm like, damn, that's pretty cool, Pat. So we started off there. We came here, worked out in camp, built that chemistry. Obviously, preseason, camp. But I'm gonna tell you what got us the chemistry what we needed this game. So I think it was Friday night. It was me, Pat, Travis, and MBS. We were playing Call of Duty together. We were playing Warzone, and we played 3 games. We won 3 games back to back. And we got off, we was like, damn, like, it's really hard to win a game in Warzone Call of Duty. And you could just tell, like, the communication between all of us and, like, the chemistry was just like, it was like we were in a game. Like, he's there, he's right there, he's above me, he's right here. And kind of just led into the game and kind of just showed on the field.
You all on the same team? I'm not familiar.
Yeah. So we're on the same team. So we're on the same team, right? There's 4 of us. There's 64 people on this map. It's called Rebirth Island. We all land in. And then we all we get our guns. Once we get our guns, then we're all working together, like the communication, like, yo, let's move upstairs. Let's go here. Trav, he's behind you. Pat, he's behind you. He's in the storm. And that's where it all started at, honestly. You can ask him about it too.
You guys would probably be more familiar with that than I would.
Jason, the uniting power of video games. Let's play Warzone.
And Kyler Murray's like, why is it a fun story with the Chiefs, but it's making fun of me? What the hell?
I tweeted during the presser last night the Chiefs are going to have to offer Juju a lifetime contract to keep him out of Arizona.
Kyler Murray's like, damn it. I thought Hollywood Brown was going to be my video game partner.
No, trade them all. Hopkins, Hollywood. Give them, I don't know, they want J.J. Watt.
Son of a gun. Let's hear Patrick Mahomes weighing in on that as well, that Juju's story about the video games and building the chemistry.
Yeah, I don't play all the time, but some of those guys play. And so when I had a kind of a free night on Friday, and so I told him, I was like, I'll get on with y'all for a little while. And so it was me, Travis, Marquez, and Juju. And Marquez and Juju are really good. Me and Travis are just all right. But we did our part, and we went 3 for 3 with 3 wins in Warzone, which I don't do often, which they might, but I don't. So I felt pretty good about it going into the game.
He says you guys have developed some chemistry. Did it feel like it playing that?
Yeah, I mean, it's cool. When you get away from the facility, you're doing it's kid-like things. And you're on the headset and you're kind of talking and joking around and talking about the week. It kind of gets your mind off of just football, and it's about building those relationships. And so it's definitely cool to kind of see these guys, even if it's on the game, outside the facility.
Yeah. Hey, Pat, he just said that the trust, building the trust ever since Dallas, and that was kind of part of the evolution process where it kind of clicked in the Call of Duty. And he said that you were able to trust all of them. How do you kind of felt like that evolution has happened, trusting those guys to having a performance like you did today?
Yeah, I mean, it's getting better and better. I think we can continue to get better. As I look at this season, I think we're going to continue to get better and better as the season goes on. We'll learn from our mistakes, and we'll go out there and improve and be even better when the season gets to the end of it. And so to go out against a defense like this and show that we can still be explosive and have those big plays, I think that will bode well for us as the season goes on, because people don't know where it's going to come from.
It's all about the video games, man.
That's what I'm saying. It's all about the video games, Jason.
Although, as opposed to Kyler Murray, I am happy to hear Patrick Mahomes saying, well, I'm not that good.
I think he snuck that in there
because he doesn't play that often.
I think he knew what he was doing there.
Where Kyler Murray's like, I could be a professional gamer too. Like, he's so good. Like, he might even start his own video game team, and he's competed in these different tournaments, and he's this good. That. Mahomes like, I don't know. I'm not really that good. I had a free night, so I decided, let's jump on the headsets together and do this.
I stopped doing my independent film study for like a half an hour, just long enough for a quick three-peat.
Let me see what this video game thing is all about. Let me go buy a console real quick and get this game. What is it? Call of Warzone, Game of Duty. Let me go buy this thing.
Fortnite must be furious. They put a Patrick Mahomes skin in Fortnite, and then post game after a big win, he's talking about a different battle royale like spin-off.
We've actually got a comment. How long till we get a Mahomes Call of Duty commercial now?
Tomorrow.
Yeah, he's filming right now.
Yeah, that's.
It should be Juju. Juju was. Remember, this was years and years and years and years ago. It was like one of the biggest cultural moments for Twitch. It was Drake and Ninja and somebody else and Juju Smith-Schuster playing Fortnite together. It was like a total seminal moment of Twitch in the mainstream.
I'll have to take your word for it.
Can't believe you weren't there for that.
I believe you. Text says, sounds like Call of Duty needs to be included into practice once a week.
Look, Andy Reid, a little too old. Travis Scott. Travis Scott was the fourth in that squad that I forgot about. Good Lord.
This goes back to the text that wonders if he was blocked. Text says, to that texter, I feel you on the blocking. I got my first response ever last week, forming an 810 ghosted support group.
Look, if we have a support group for people who don't get their texts read by Jason, I'll be the president.
Hi, my name is Josh. Hi, Josh. I don't get my text read by Jason as well. It all started around 2021, and it's just gotten worse. And I feel like, is he ignoring me? Don't you do the show with him? Why are you texting? Well, I'm talking about outside of the show.
I mean,
outside of the show.
I text you during the break also, just my thoughts, how I thought the segment went. Letter grade every single segment. It's like a shot clock review. I do it out of 10. The segment was a 7.
I feel like that was a C.
Would have liked for you to committed to playing some video games with us, but Beards, what do you got? We're gonna do a little Borderlands with Jason. We can all play Borderlands.
Oh, that would be amazing.
What is Borderlands?
Okay, all right. So maybe not that. Maybe you know what Fortnite is. Little man like any video games? Is there a console in the Anderson household?
No.
Okay, all right. Let me know when that changes.
I don't know that it's going to change anytime soon.
When's little man's birthday?
13 days.
Oh, really?
November 6th.
Okay, Beard. You want
Titans game?
Beards, I have an idea. We got to get little man a birthday present.
What's the birthday present you're going to get?
And then it's going to be and they got to get 2 controllers and some good Wi-Fi.
We're going to get Wi-Fi taken care of.
We're going to get an adult-sized headset, which is going to be confusing, but I think we're going to get the message sent.
See, I was just thinking I could bring my Xbox and we go into the FM room and we got that big old TV in there.
Ooh, okay. It's not the facilities, though. It's about getting out of the facilities.
Start slow.
So you guys are going to buy him everything except the console? We're going to get him 2 controllers.
Oh, no, we're also going to get him the console.
Oh, yeah, you can do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you absolutely, if you want to pay like the $500 or whatever to get
all the controllers and game, much more than that altogether.
I'm totally good with that. If that's the present you want to get him, certainly, yeah. Now I'll just hide it in the basement until it's time for him to, then be old enough.
Will you start playing it from the basement at that point then?
I don't want it. It's kind of like the sweets. I don't want it in the house because if it's in the house, then I'm going to eat the sweets. Maybe so just don't bring the sweets into the house.
Maybe we just get him a big bag of candy then. It seems cheaper. And honestly, by the way, the Chiefs being down 10-0 and that live line moving, basically that's buying his birthday presents. I mean, really, it's all house money at this point.
Yeah, I wasn't on the app at the time, and I should have been, and I feel dumb now because I absolutely would have, doubled down since I already had the Chiefs money line from last week, and so I'm like, or I had them -2.5 actually from last week when that thing opened up on Sunday. So, yeah, I wasn't paying attention, or I would have, just hammered that. But I was watching the game.
Apex Legends. What about Animal Crossing? You going to play Animal Crossing with us, Jason?
I don't even know what that game might be. Like Animal Crossing. What is it, like a road that you just try to... It's like Frogger?
It's like Frogger, yeah.
Only with different animals? I'm going to try it with an elk.
That's right. Yeah. It's just Animal Crossing at increasing levels of difficulty with larger and larger animals.
Or smaller, like here's a turtle now.
Oh, slower and slower animals.
Yes.
Yeah, the tortoise is expert difficulty.
Yeah,
it is
the
big,
last
it
one.
is slow.
It's like knockout. You got to beat Tyson at the end. That's and
right.
you finally you got to cross the road with a tortoise.
That's exactly what it is. Really, a frog is honestly too easy.
Yeah. I mean, just hops front, back. I mean, it's like, I made it. Done that.
Saying an elk reminds me of a tweet that I saw last night, which was from Arif Hassan, formerly of The Athletic, now I think it's with Pro Football Network. He tweeted, I love watching Travis Kelce run with the ball in his hands. He's like an elegant moose.
I like that.
That stuck with me.
I'm so mad that it was the illegal hands offsetting penalty on the Travis Kelce touchdown, because that was a baller touchdown.
Yeah.
You catch the ball, you don't tuck it away, you get hit, you reach the ball over the goal line while looking at the dude that hit you.
Never leaving your feet.
I mean, that was as much of a bleep you bring it. I am so much better than you guys on the field, and I know it. Type touchdown. That didn't count. And then, of course, you get the, Kittle had a touchdown. National Tight Ends Day. National Tight Ends Day. Who had a better day? Who had a better day? National Tight Ends Day. Who had a better day? I'm just saying, same receptions, same yards. Somebody had a touchdown and the other one didn't.
Travis Kelce did it on fewer targets. Checkmate.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you did.
Mark Andrews got shut out on tight end day.
Wow, I didn't even realize that.
Yeah.
He got shut out.
His best play was a pitch to Lamar Jackson, apparently. Disrespectful.
You think Dallas Goedert was pissed that it was National Tight Ends Day and they were off this week?
Yes.
What the hell, man? Who else was off this week?
I was gonna make a joke.
Off, right?
I was gonna make a joke about a Bears or Patriots tight end, and I couldn't think of any. Is Hunter Henry still there?
Dawson Knox was off.
Yeah, Dawson
Rams.
Knox was
So
off.
Tyler Higbee. Vikings was at Irv Smith.
I think.
So really,
is Irv Smith still there?
I think he is.
I think he might be, man. I think
Bama
that's-
tight end.
I think
It's
you're
not
probably
Kyle
right.
Rudolph anymore.
No, he's a giant now.
Mm-hmm. He has gotten bigger.
Yeah, he's huge.
He is.
I talked to him at
eating his way to being
Tahoe a couple years ago.
almost a tackle.
Large fella, that guy.
Yeah. So you got Goddard, you've got Knox, you've got Higbee and Irv Smith on National Tight End Day that did not get to play. And apparently Mark Andrews also didn't
Might
play.
as well have not.
Also did not play.
Unbelievable.
Did it affect your fantasy team, Josh? Is that what happened?
Oh, it did, but it mostly affected my pancreas. Hit nobody cares now, Beards. Aha! That's hateful. That's hate speech. I'm suing.
Nobody cares about diabetes? That's not true.
I'm suing, Beards.
Wilford Brimley absolutely cared about diabetes.
That was hate speech.
100%. Do you have a soft spot in your heart and pancreas for Mark Andrews?
I do. I think when we were talking about that last night, that's where I ended up. Said I have a special place in my heart for Travis Kelce. I think George Kittle's great. I will really all
much better
tight
of a-
ends. I think are incredible.
Such a better blocker than Kelce, too.
But-
That's
but
the thing.
Overall, I have Travis Kelce's number one in my heart, but Mark Andrews is type 1 in my pancreas. I've had a lot of time to think about this one.
Pretty good.
Thank you.
I like that one. 913-912-4810 is the text line to be a part of the show. 913-912-4810. Text says, my texts are read so often, I'm thinking of signing them as show contributor.
I like a competition on the text line of the ones who get ghosted and the ones who feel like they should get
That's
paid.
right.
I think this is good.
Mm-hmm. Text says the Kelce would have been TD was like an adult playing with kindergartners.
Yes, 100%.
I mean, it really was. Like, you're out in the backyard playing with, like, my son is 6/7 in 13 days, and some of his friends. Like, if I'm back there playing and they're hitting me and I'm not even really moving at all and I'm just sort of holding the football out.
Did you see the Falcons mascot yesterday? That's how I imagine you playing football with your kids and his friends.
That was unbelievable. That might be a learn funniest best from the weekend.
It probably should be.
Yes.
Yeah.
Text says, testing 1, 2, 3. Hello, is this thing on?
I'm gonna log into the text app, and I'm just gonna start responding to texts as we get them with like, your phone number is no longer eligible to send texts to this address. Goodbye, and just see if people think that they've been blocked.
Text says Brisco can name every video game and gamer, and he's calling the people that answer Marvel questions nerds.
I just can't answer the Marvel questions. Although I've heard the Marvel video game is pretty good. Came out of the year. Did the Avengers game a year or so ago? Rudy said it was good.
We're all nerds, though.
Yeah. Just different stuff. We're all sports nerds here. You can't do this without being at least a little bit of a sports nerd.
We're nerds. We're talking about DVOA and EPA.
Even on like the cool guy sense, we're talking about dudes in superhero costumes running around hitting each other and celebrating. I mean,
pressure percentage and touchdowns and 10 points and games and football scores, and we are total nerds when it fantasy football and betting. Total nerds, man.
Fantasy football is an incredibly nerdy thing that all the jocks decided was cool. That sports, that's just what we are. We all care about different things, unreasonable amounts. And I've got, sports and video games.
913-912-4810. Text says, guys, I'm 26, pretty average looking guy. I'm used to the ghosting from the generation of women.
Oh, boy.
Take the show with you by listening live on 810WHB.com, in the 810 mobile app, or by subscribing to The Zone wherever you get your podcasts. The Zone with Jason Anderson.
913-912-4810. Not going to read that text because you're a jerk.
Weekdays from 10 to 2 on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
All right, we'll talk with Field Yates coming up at noon. Chiefs win 44-23. AFC, odd weekend. The AFC, or AFC West, all the teams played a team outside of the division, and they all started at 3:25. Every game, the only 4 games yesterday at 3:25 or 3 o'clock 3:25 were AFC West games. Texans, Raiders, Seahawks, Chargers, the Broncos and Jets, and then the Chiefs and 49ers.
2 of them were NFC West, AFC West games,
right,
but that doesn't make all 4 of them that.
And then the other 2 were home games for the Chargers and Raiders. So yeah, typically it's like, well, the AFC, all of the games were at 3:25. Well, you had 2 games that were in the division that were played in Vegas and LA. But yeah, I thought it was just an odd little quirk to the schedule. I didn't even realize it until I had the 3 games on my iPad and the Sunday ticket and watching the Chiefs, and I'm like, all right, so let's go LA, lose this game. All right, Raiders, they're losing to the Texans. That's awesome. Jets like, wait a minute. That's odd. What's the deal here?
I realized that I had been missing the Chargers game because we were like near halftime maybe. I'd been fully locked in on Chiefs-Niners, and then I saw the score of Seahawks-Chargers.
Oh, yeah.
And it was, I think it was 17-0 at that point or something like that. Crazy.
Did you see Mike Williams' leg?
No. Oh, no, I still haven't seen it. I know he was hurt seriously, but I haven't seen the video.
It's not as bad as J.C. Jackson's leg.
I didn't see either of them.
J.C. Jackson's feels like it might have been like a Teddy Bridgewater type. When Bridgewater in practice, when they stopped the practice, and now he was taken by ambulance directly to the hospital, Bridgewater was, and they were early reports of like they may need to he may not be able to use his left leg below them. Like it was that bad. Like everything was torn to shreds. They put his entire leg, J.C. Jackson's, in like a huge air cast.
Did they end up saying it was a kneecap for him?
It was something, but they said it was.
I saw something about that. I remember.
Very significant.
I think I did see it was a kneecap dislocation. I don't know that there was tendon damage.
Okay, well, never mind.
But that would explain the air cast, though. That was what reminded me of that.
It looked awful. And like he laid there for a while.
Oh, just the way he went down. I haven't seen it slow mo, but
so
I might
and Mike Williams looked pretty bad as well. They are ravaged by injuries, and Brandon Staley, does he make it through the season? Like I don't know if he does, but man, if it wasn't for the Texans just not being good enough. I mean, they were leading the Raiders too. I mean, all 4 AFC West teams were losing at some point yesterday. And 2 of the 4 ended up winning. Let's hear from Storyteller. 913-381-0810 is the phone number. Storyteller, go right ahead. What's on your mind, sir?
Gentlemen, always a pleasure. And do you realize that with the Broncos stinking so bad that the Chiefs could lose, that be flexed out of the Sunday night, December 11th game?
Yeah, I mean, it depends on what Russ looks like, if he is, partially injury related as to why they've been struggling. But yeah, that would be December 11th, as you said, in Denver, Sunday Night Football. If the Broncos aren't that good, then the matchup between Patrick Mahomes and Russell Wilson doesn't have the same sizzle.
However, with the Steelers struggling and New England being very average, they could get flexed out in favor of the Chiefs-Chargers game on 11-20.
Yeah. I don't know. The Chiefs-Titans, I mean, when are the Titans are not off this week, right?
I do not. I think no. They have the Texans. I did all this in the postgame show last night. Good question, Jason. They have the Texans this week, which means they're probably going to be 5-2 with the 5-2 Chiefs. So that game will not go anywhere. That's 2 first-place teams. But I went and checked all that yesterday because I don't care to watch the Titans play more than I have to.
Yeah. So and that's a home game. It's at Arrowhead. It's Patrick Mahomes.
They're not moving Mahomes out of prime time. Yeah. And I'm guessing they probably won't move Mahomes and Wilson out of prime time. But later in the season, who's to say?
Right.
Smith-Schuster was very smart, signing with the team that throws 40 times a day, a game, because he's going to make good money next year. Will it be with the Chiefs?
I mean, I don't know. Storyteller, appreciate the phone call, man. I don't know, what the market's going to be for Juju Smith-Schuster because it wasn't nearly as much as I thought it was going to be this year. He signed for the 1-year deal and he took less money to stay in Pittsburgh. and then ultimately he signs with the Chiefs for less money than I thought he would.
Yep.
I don't know what the market's going to be, but if he wants to return on a similar contract, I will certainly take Juju Smith-Schuster on the Chiefs for the next 3 years, along with MVS and Sky Moore, and I'm assuming McCole Hardman's going to price himself out of playing in Kansas City if he keeps doing what he did yesterday. If he scores 3 touchdowns a game, I just think he's going to make way too much money.
Bold, but I'm with you.
I just feel like that is going to happen.
I think we're going to get by the end of the year to Juju being the top offseason priority. I don't know if it's going to happen or not. Everything you just laid out, I'm with you on. Of just, boy, what a strange last couple years it's been for Juju Smith-Schuster from a contract perspective.
Text says, new phone, who dis? Another text says, your text is important to us. Please remain on the line. I do like that one.
I just saw Mike Williams' ankle.
Yeah.
That one's worse.
Was it an ankle or a knee? Like, I don't know. I stopped watching after that.
I watched them both, and the J.C. Jackson one was uncomfortable, but it was hard to see what went wrong. And the Mike Williams one I watched once, and then I changed it.
I thought it was a knee at first because it looked like he reached for his knee, but then everybody's saying ankle since then. I haven't seen an update. I didn't watch anything on it. The game got over, ate dinner, went to Sunday Sound Off, got home, went to bed, woke up this morning, got ready for the show, didn't look at anything for the Chargers and J.C. Jackson and Mike Williams. But, yeah, could have been an ankle, but probably not going to be back soon with how, he couldn't put any weight on that leg at all. This tweet comes in, and I think this is funny. The tweet comes in and says, from Jay South, says, you've got to get Mary Kay on to discuss. Mary Kay Cabot, fun friend of the show. Says, I'd love to hear how she polishes that turd. Mary Kay is the Adam Teicher of the Cleveland Browns, who came on the show before the Browns and Chiefs divisional game, where she said, the Browns are primed and poised, and they are hungry. And the biggest mistake was teams letting the Browns get into the playoffs. Baker Mayfield is made for the red zone. She picked the Browns to win against the Chiefs and all these other things, right? So Tex says, have Mary Kay on to polish this turd. Moments before Coach Stefanski emerged from this post-game news conference following the 23-20 loss to the Ravens, a shouting match could be heard coming from the Browns locker room. The Athletic's Zach Jackson heard one voice clearly yell, no bleeping leadership, although it was impossible to identify who said it. The outburst followed John Johnson III's comments earlier this week, which, by the way, at the time when they talked about John Johnson, I thought it was a made-up name. John Johnson. Okay, you're just making the guy's name was, I don't know, John Johnson or something. Earlier in the week, that the guys need to be more committed when they're out of the building. All of it is a terrible look for an organization that just last year dealt with the drama surrounding Baker Mayfield and Odell Beckham Jr. The Browns have seemingly had a toxic culture for years. This is what I think is interesting. We thought 2020 signaled the start of all that changing when they were one fourth down stop from the AFC Championship game. This goes back to the Jimmy G touchdown or miss pass to Emmanuel Sanders, that if he makes that pass, the 49ers win the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
If the Chiefs don't pick up the fourth down there, Browns have no timeouts. There's 40 seconds left on the clock, and they're down 5. They still had to score a touchdown.
Yeah.
They lost 22-17.
Yeah, that's 5 points. I did the math.
They didn't just, it wasn't a fourth down and goal from the 1 and you were up 4.
Right.
And they scored a touchdown at the end of the game to end the game. That's a fourth down stop away from going to the AFC Championship game. They had to get the stop, then drive 50 yards with no timeouts and 40 seconds remaining if the Chiefs were to hand off and not get it, right? Or if the pass to Tyreek Hill somehow was short of the line to gain and he was stopped, the clock is still running.
Yeah.
They would have got the ball with around 40. Well,
the game log says 31 for the next snap.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm wrong about that. I apologize. Let me quickly adjust that. It would have stopped. It was a fourth.
I would say it would have been change of possession. I guess that's true.
So there would have been a minute.
It would have been
to go.
a minute for an offense that had scored 17 points to go score 7 more.
It would be a minute to play. They still had to score a touchdown and half the field to go, which is part of the reason why Andy Reid went ahead and said, I'm going to go for it on 4th down and 1, and I'm going to pick up the first down. They may have scored. I certainly didn't want to see that happen. I didn't want to see them get the ball.
Feeding the ball to number 1 receiver Rashard Higgins and David Njoku and Donovan Peoples-Jones. Higgins and Njoku are the only 2 guys in that game with multiple receptions and more than 25 yards. Jarvis Landry had 7 catches for 20. How did that happen?
By the way,
He averaged less. Jarvis Landry in that game averaged fewer yards per completion than any of their running backs did running the ball did per carry by a lot.
Tough to do. My brother texted me on the Mike Williams, says, Mike Williams told The Athletic he has an ankle sprain. Keenan Allen told reporters in the locker room that Williams had a high ankle sprain, but said that tests haven't completely confirmed that. If it's a high ankle sprain, Williams will likely miss some time. MRIs will happen tomorrow. Mike Williams vowed that, quote, I'm going to be back, end quote, which sounds like he's already prepared for an absence.
And then on the J.C. Jackson front,
yeah,
it is a dislocated kneecap, but it does sound like they don't know if there's more to that or not.
Okay.
Patrick Mahomes famously had a dislocated kneecap and then very little other structural damage.
And he walked off the field.
Right. I have no... We talked about that when the dislocated kneecap for Mahomes happened.
Yeah.
I think we eventually found out that if that kneecap had gone like a quarter inch further, the bone itself would have cut through a tendon or something. And so who knows if that happened with J.C. Jackson. So it sounds like it is a dislocated kneecap and ... We'll probably find out later today on that.
But they get the Super Bowl win with Patrick Mahomes returning and Jimmy Garoppolo not hitting Emmanuel Sanders in the game. It's the only reason they won the Super Bowl. They got to play in the AFC Championship game in 2020, a year later, because the Browns didn't get a fourth down stop, and it's just been all toxic since then. And as Stefanski has said, winning is the deodorant. And boy, they are a stinky, stinky team right now. There is no deodorant right now. The Chiefs have a lot of deodorant. They don't really need it though. I mean, do they need the deodorant? Like they just always smell good.
Just smell. It's like a cologne at that point. You get out of the shower and you don't stink, but wouldn't you like to smell a little nicer?
Yeah.
Boom. That's what the Chiefs have.
Yeah.
The Browns smell like a dog pound.
See what you did there. Another text comes in and says, Tyreek who? Pacheco, number 10.
The best number 10 in Chiefs history, with apologies to Trent Green and nobody else.
Pretty sure apologies to Terrence Copper. Damn. You better show some love to T-Cop.
Apologies to, you know what? Isaiah Pacheco is the best Chiefs number 10 of all time whose first name didn't start with a T.
No.
Damn.
Pete Stoyanovich would like a word.
Damn it! I just took a shot. My eyes were closed, and I just went, maybe. I knew there was one other number 10 last time we did this, but I couldn't remember who it was. So I just hoped that he wasn't very good. My apologies to the Stoyanovich family.
My 10s are out. I'm done. I'm out of 10s. No more to go. We'll give the ring out next.
You're in the zone with Jason Anderson on Sports Radio 810 WHB. The Zone with Jason Anderson.
I've got control of all these knobs over here.
Wow.
Weekdays from 10 to 2 on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
We'll talk with Field Yates coming up at noon. Mick Shaffer at 1 o'clock. Learn funniest best. Right now, looking at the leaderboard for the NFL and quarterbacks. In yards passing, Patrick Mahomes is number 1, 2,159 yards. Number 2 is Joe Burrow. In touchdown passes, right now, Patrick Mahomes is number 1 with 20. In quarterback rating, Patrick Mahomes right now is number 1 with a 109.5. And in QBR, Patrick Mahomes right now is number 1 with a 76.8. Other than that, he's had a rough season without Tyreek. Other than that, he's been just awful. Now, mind you, Josh Allen was off this week. So the yards passing, I think he's like 200 ahead of Josh Allen. So after this week, when they both have played 7 games, Josh Allen will probably pass him. He's 3 touchdowns ahead of Josh Allen. So if Josh Allen has 3 touchdown passes, which probably will, who knows, he'll be tied at 20 with him. And then the quarterback rating, Patrick Mahomes has a 109.5. Josh Allen has a 109.1. And the QBR, Patrick Mahomes has a 76.8. Josh Allen has a 76.2. And then the next closest is like a 72. So there's a pretty decent, it's Mahomes and Allen, and then a little bit of a gap, and then, everybody else.
I think we'll settle in on this, but I hope that people in Kansas City and Buffalo appreciate the fact that to you have one superhero and the NFL gave you a supervillain for those two to just fight against for the next decade. I mean, it's just such an incredible setup.
They had been searching for the Brady and Manning, and I think they've finally found
maybe it's Andrew Luck, or maybe it's going to be Trevor Lawrence, or maybe it's anybody in between.
It's Justin Herbert, and it's
Geno
Joe
Smith
Burrow
the first time.
Yes,
Geno Smith this time, maybe.
Right.
That's the bounce.
I mean, there was a time like it's Josh Allen, and then it moved on to nope, it's Justin Herbert. Nope, it's Joe Burrow.
Yeah, you're right. That's a good
now
point.
Is it Josh Allen? And it is.
Them doing it on their veteran contracts, I think, is when it gets sort of established.
Yep.
Like, oh yeah, this
next year when Josh Allen's making $39 million against the cap, then we'll see. Once both teams are having to build that way.
And if I was a betting man, I'd say that I bet Josh Allen will stay good.
But yeah, Mahomes had a 132.4 quarterback rating in the game yesterday and a 90.1 QBR. That is even with an interception.
And
That's
on
how good he was.
On a weekly basis here in the Zone, we ask one simple question.
What's that?
Who gets the ring? Who gets the ring this week? Everybody, not every ring is a Super Bowl ring or an AFC Championship ring. Sometimes you need the rings that get you through the week. Sometimes you need the ring that's going to get you through your life. And that's what Ruback Fine Jewelry is here to do. That's where I went when it was time to get my one, Super Bowl sort of type ring for now fiance Renee. They made a custom engagement ring for me based off my ideas, based off Renee's ideas, based off Hal's ideas. He's got decades of experience in the jewelry industry, so he was incredibly helpful to that at Ruback. But I'm going to give the ring from this game on Sunday to the Chiefs' offensive coaching staff. And that's certainly Andy Reid. That is certainly Eric Bieniemy, certainly Matt Nagy. I'm sure others on that staff as well. But the way that they were able to not only use these receivers like Juju Smith-Schuster and Marquez Valdez-Scantling in the ways that it seemed like they were envisioning this offseason when they retooled, not only in the ways that they continue to use Travis Kelce, but how Juju and Kelce were playing off each other in the intermediate, how they were totally rope-a-doping Nick Bosa. Those are difficult things for an offense to be able to do in a way that sort of overwhelming against, I think, coming into this game, a third in DVOA defense that the Niners brought, healthier than they've been in the recent past. Bosa played. Charvarius Ward played. They got pretty healthy in time for this game, and the Chiefs still already... Well, they ran a ring around him, Jason. And if you want to run around a ring and run a ring around the finger of a loved one in your life, if it's a holiday gift or if you're trying to get this question popped before the holiday or in the holiday season, now's the time to go do it at Ruback Fine Jewelry. Again, it's the easiest endorsement for me to give in the world because I could just point you to Renee's ring finger, and that is my personal endorsement. The process was incredible. Being able to be a part of it and to know what we were doing, the choices I was getting to make, the choices that Hal was making with our information celebration in mind. I just could not possibly be more thrilled with the way that whole experience went. And they service customers all over the country, not just Kansas City. They do virtual appointments every day as well. So you can check them out online and book your appointment. They're by appointment only. They're going to take their time with you. They're appointment only. You can book that at ruback.co. That's ruback.co.
Good stuff. The ring to the Chiefs offensive coaches. We were talking about some of the injuries around the NFL. DK Metcalf.
Yeah.
Are we sure he just wasn't going to the bathroom again?
Dude, I actually thought that too. I'm like, uh-oh. But Pete Carroll said that they got really good news this morning.
Good. And
that DK is actually saying he's going to practice Wednesday, which Pete Carroll said, we'll see.
Yeah,
we'll see about that. If that's the case,
Wow,
then
that's
DK
phenomenal.
might be Robo. Also, the expectation is that the MRI will reveal an ACL tear for Breece Hall today.
Yeah, that's
which
really
sucks.
frustrating. That's disappointing.
Which sucks, man. Yep. He's playing some awesome football.
David
Awesome football.
Njoku out 2 to 5 weeks with a high ankle sprain. Schefter just tweeted that one.
Interesting.
We're getting the injury news from yesterday.
Yeah.
I'm guessing we'll probably have some more at noon.
Yesterday was a big injury day with
Yeah.
some big names that were out there. Again, J.C. Jackson, we talked about that. Breece Hall, DK Metcalf, Mike Williams, guys that all left the games
The
early.
Chiefs left pretty healthy yesterday.
Absolutely, for the most part. They both, Andy Reid and Kyle Shanahan talked about that at midfield. How'd you come out? Healthy for the most part. You? Healthy for the most part.
You'll take it.
Ready to change? Get it.
The Zone with Jason Anderson.
What if there was a screaming crowd of children out front going, Jason! Jason Anderson! I love the Zone!
I would wonder what I did in life to end up in hell.
Weekdays from 10 to 2 on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
All right, we continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Jason Anderson with you, Josh Brisco, Beards. We'll talk with Mick Shaffer coming up in the 1 o'clock hour. Learn funniest best as well. No Andy Reid today. They are dark this week with the bye week. We'll hear from him next week as they get ready for Sunday Night Football against the Tennessee Titans. As they knock off the 49ers 44-23 in a Chiefs victory Monday. Talking with our NFL insider from ESPN, Field Yates, is our guest here in the Zone. Field, what's up, man? How are you, sir?
Jason, I am doing well. Good to be on with you, as is our Monday tradition, and hope all is going well. It is absolutely pouring where I am right now, so I hope it is sunny and 75 degrees in Kansas City.
It is absolutely pouring where we are today, and the high temperature today was 74, and that was at midnight because it's going to be around 50 degrees in a few hours. So,
yeah, we have the same weather.
That's right.
And I'm not too far from Monday Night Football, so the rain is supposed to let up in time for the game tonight, but it'll be a fairly cool evening up in Massachusetts.
I feel like the weather should be flipped from last Monday to, or really from the Monday after the Colts game, then and today, because the Monday after the Colts game was oh my God, how awful was that? How do you lose to the Colts? What is going on? They still have the Bills and the Bucks. They got to go to the 49ers, and you lose to the frickin' Colts, and you still got the Raiders, which, Devontae Adams and all of that. And they went and won the rest of them outside of that Bills game. But it is raining today, but a lot of positive feelings and sunshine around here with the Chiefs. What did you think of that game? Trailing 10-0, all they did was go on a 44-13 run against the 49ers on the road.
Yeah, and the 49ers, they're an offensive team, right? Oh, wait, they're a defensive team.
That's
yeah,
right,
best defense in the NFL prior to yesterday, or at least near the top in a lot of important categories. And we're 7 weeks into the season, and we're in sort of this danger zone where you can start to, I think, make reasonable, not assumptions, but I think assessments of where teams are at right now. And through 7 weeks, I'm starting to wonder if the NFL is sort of like a 3-team tier, and then the rest of the NFL is in various different weight classes below them. And the 3 teams, I don't think are going to surprise you. The Chiefs, the Bills, obviously, and I think the Eagles, because of the balance on that roster and because of the fact that they are 6-0, belong in that conversation as well. But what we were reminded of yesterday is that I think you can beat the Chiefs, you meaning like a football team, because the NFL is the league of parity. But one thing you can't do is hurt yourself when you play the Chiefs. And when you're Jimmy Garoppolo and you have this goofy end-of-half sequence where you go from punting to recovering a muff punt to near the end zone, and you turn that into 0 points because of an interception, I kind of felt like the game was over then. It wasn't actually over. It was still tight. But to me, it felt like you could have at least made the Chiefs sweat a bit, and instead you gave away potentially 7 points, certainly 3 points. And while Butker missed the kick at the end of the half, that did not translate into points. Still, it just felt like the wind was taken out of the sails for the 49ers on that interception.
One of the things that I talked about at the beginning of the show today was, looking back to last week and why I wasn't all that, concerned or, thinking that there were big issues with this Chiefs team, is that, I felt like they just lacked some execution on a few plays last week and some third downs, and that felt like they were open. The screen pass to Michael Burton that wasn't completed might have been a touchdown last week. Instead, they don't get points or they get 3 points out of that drive to take a 20-17 lead, whereas that might have been them going up 24-17. That didn't happen, and so it's like, okay, a play here, a play there. They just simply did not execute. So, and I feel like the Chiefs' offense is going to execute more often than not. And we fast forward to then Sunday, and the Chiefs are up 5 in the third quarter. They're at the 38-yard line, and it's 3rd and 20. And they pick up 34 yards on a screenplay. And later on in the game, in the fourth quarter, they're up by 5 again, 28-23. They're at their own 19-yard line, and it's 3rd and 11. And they pick up 57 yards to MVS. Like, you can look at the Josh Williams interception like you talked about, And then those 2 third downs and say, those plays, you change those. Maybe the 49ers, it's a different story. Maybe they're in the game. Maybe they win. Just as last week, you change a couple of plays here or there and they beat the Bills. But the Chiefs were really good and they capitalized on those. And they also, put up, 4 other touchdowns outside of those 2 drives.
Yeah, I'll keep using the analogy that I think I tapped into last week on the show. Chiefs-Bills was Georgia-Alabama for me, right? Someone has to win the game. Someone has to lose the game. I know that there technically are ties in the NFL, but obviously very fleeting are ties. So I sort of looked at it last week as like, all right, so, you lose if it's a 3-score game, you feel differently. But a 1-score game, even playing at home, like, someone does have to lose the game when you have the 2 best teams in the NFL facing off. So I didn't have any major, I didn't sense any major red flags from the Chiefs a week ago, and I think that certainly was confirmed yesterday. And the supposed vaunted AFC West, I think, feels certainly a lot less vaunted this morning. While the Raiders did get a win, the Chargers fell short at home, and then the Broncos continue to look like one of the worst offenses, if not the worst offense in the NFL. It doesn't matter who's playing quarterback for them right now.
Field Yates is our guest. Is there something just in the water when it comes to being a Chargers player that they just every year go through these rash of injuries? It's unbelievable. It's not funny. It used to be like Clemsoning was a saying. Clemson was going to find a way to lose. It's what they do. They're going to Clemson. And the Chargers, it just seems like an important players, they're just going to have injuries. It's what happens with this team. It's going to be different guys, different weeks. And, yesterday with J.C. Jackson having the injury and Mike Williams having the injury in the 4th quarter, just add it to the long, long list of guys that have been injured this year for that team. And yet they're still 4-3, but it really feels like a 4-3 that's more likely headed to almost 500 rather than somebody that's going to have 11 or 12 wins.
Yeah, the hard part about the Chargers is that they have a player that I think, in terms of ability, Justin Herbert, can be one of the very best in the NFL, period, right? Like, he's had some moments that are just like gargantuan Sundays. He is a freak. He is a cyborg in some ways. And yet, too often, it doesn't feel like this is a team that's quarterbacked by an alien, a guy who's just so talented. And I think that the creativity that you see from Kansas City and the preparedness and the execution you see from Kansas City, it feels like maybe the gap between the Chargers and the Chiefs is not strictly talent, but also infrastructure around the quarterback related. And I don't know what to make of them because I'm with you. It's a 4-3 team. You are what your record says you are. But other than that Texans game, every other win has been less than by less than one, or by 1 score or less, or I guess by within a score. They have been blown out by the Jaguars and the Seahawks this year. And while they have, I think, a reasonable chance coming off of their bye when they play the Falcons to improve, who knows? They've already played the Chiefs once and lost to them. I wouldn't be surprised if it's a season sweep. So I don't know what to make of them. And you're absolutely right. The law of averages would make you think that at some point they're going to just have not bad injury luck, and yet they continue to have terrible injury luck. But they're a team that consistently seems to be better on paper than they are on the football field.
Visiting with Field Yates from ESPN, you mentioned the Broncos that may have the worst offense no matter who's quarterbacking their team. How much trouble are they in? And it maybe not just from a this season standpoint with the draft picks and the money they gave up for Russell Wilson. Like the first-round draft pick is going to be used by the Seattle Seahawks this year, who are number 1 in the NFC West. But how much trouble, short-term and long-term, do you think this Broncos organization is?
It's a little bit too tough for me to say right now with 100% conviction. But, Jason, the signs are extremely discouraging because, we thought that the quarterback would unlock everything in this offense. And obviously that hasn't been the case. But now when you look at these pieces, it's not like some of the players that we assumed were going to be dynamic game changers look like dynamic game changers in not even factoring in the quarterback, right? Like Jerry Jeudy with Russell Wilson, he had the big touchdown in week 1, but it doesn't strike me that he's been nearly the player that we expected him to be when he was drafted in the first round. I know that Adam Schefter had a report on Sunday morning about how teams are calling around on Jerry Jeudy, and That's not the kind of thing you'd expect if a player was completely untouchable. That's just one example. So it just does not get necessarily better given the fact that their investment to Russell Wilson is for 6 more years beyond this. And, this is not – here's what I would say. The last thing that I would say on this, at least, is that it's not like Russell Wilson played at like a near MVP level throughout the entirety of last season and all of a sudden he just dipped, right? Like last year there were some concerning signs from Russell Wilson, who did not look like himself for a significant portion of last year. So it's a big bet made by the Broncos, and I don't know about buyer's remorse, but there's certainly some trepidation being felt right now in Denver because they are a mess.
We look around the NFL and through 7-8 weeks of the season after this week when the Chiefs have the bye, but through this part of the season, there are some surprises, some disappointments, some things that are above expectation. Which is maybe a bigger surprise to you if I would have told you at the beginning of the season that the New York teams are going to be 11-3 and the Packers and Bucks are going to be combined 6-8?
Wow, that's a great question. I would have gone with the Packers and the Bucks being a combined 6-8, only because weird stuff can happen in football, and you can have teams sort of find their ways to wins early in the season when everybody is still feeling themselves out. But you would have just figured that there was just way too much built-in equity for both the Bucks and the Packers to slide as far as they have. But my friend and colleague at ESPN, Zach Lowe, does his NBA League Pass rankings before the season, where he combines several factors. He always references the algorithm that he has created so that he can take himself off the hook when fans get mad when their team is in the bottom 5. But it includes things that are serious and some that are silly. The silly stuff is the play-by-play announcers and jerseys and logos on the court and things like that. If I were to do the equivalent of that right now for the NFL, I would think that the Packers and Bucks, because of their offense alone, puts them near the bottom 5, or at least in the bottom 10, because when you watch them right now, there is virtually no rhyme or reason to what they are doing. The Bucks have just a mess of a passing game, despite the fact that they have Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. The Packers can't get anything going with the offensive line or the running game. The Packers wide receivers, as we expected, haven't been great so far this season. It's tough to watch, and we were just talking about how with Russ, it's not like this has been if this decline is real, it's a bit more gradual. For Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers, if the decline is real, it's not gradual, because Rodgers was the NFL MVP each of the past 2 seasons, and Brady led the NFL in both passing yards and passing touchdowns last year. So both of those quarterbacks, you came into the season expecting to look like MVP candidates. So it's a real mess right now for both of them. And if not for the fact that they played in the NFC, we might be talking about having a fork stuck in them. But with how crappy the NFC is right now, especially the NFC South, the Bucs could legitimately win their division with 9 wins this year.
Yeah, I mean, and we'll see. The NFC West, it looks like Seattle could win that thing, and we'll see with Christian McCaffrey in San Francisco what that ends up looking like with him getting just a little taste of being the 49ers running back. But the Jets are a team that I'm looking at a little more closely than I ever thought I would this year for 2 reasons. One, they've been a fun story so far, but also certainly could use Buffalo losing a game or 2 along the way, and the Bills-Jets game looks a little more of a fight for Buffalo than you would have thought earlier this year. But Breece Hall, it has been confirmed that has torn his ACL and is out for the rest of the season. How big of a blow is that to the New York Jets and what they do, and for those around Kansas City that might be looking at that Jets-Bills game in New York, New Jersey, in a couple of weeks when the Chiefs are taking on the Titans on Sunday Night Football? The Bills are traveling to take on the Jets. How big of a detriment is the Breece Hall ACL tear?
Yeah, it's a massive detriment. He's been their best offensive player, and it's not close, at least amongst the skill guys. Perhaps Ollie Vera Tucker, they're very versatile offensive linemen in the same mix. But here's why it matters. Here are the number of passing yards that Zach Wilson has in his 4 starts since returning from injury. 252, not bad. 210, okay. 110 and 121 yards. this passing offense is or has been one of the least explosive in the NFL with Zach Wilson under center. Now you could counter with the fact that they've played such good defense and have run the football effectively that they haven't needed it. And I think there's merit to that. But if you're playing a Buffalo or a Kansas City, I don't know if you can get by just grinding out games 16-9 or 24-20. It's going to take much better than that. So it'll be a very, very tough test for the Jets coming up here when they play the Bills eventually. I think they play the Patriots next week, which I don't think will be an easy sled for them as well. So the Jets have been a very, very, very good story, and they've certainly had some impressive wins recently. But I think it's going to be an interesting few weeks ahead as they try to adjust without Breece Hall. Michael Carter will be the next man up, but Breece Hall had put himself right in the conversation for the most impactful rookies on offense so far this season.
By the way, real quick, a fantasy one before we let you go, and this came up yesterday on Sunday Sound Off, that there was a fantasy league that there was a trade for, I can't remember if it was a trade for Michael Carter or if it was a trade when somebody was, a Breece Hall type deal. And when Breece Hall went down, it might have been just for Michael Carter. When Breece Hall went down, that person went and immediately accepted the trade that was out there.
Oh, God. Don't do that.
And it's like, should there be rules implemented that on Sunday during the games, you shouldn't be allowed to, you can retract a trade, but you can't accept a trade during a game, or maybe just pull the trade back off the table on that day. But it seems a little suspect.
Jason. I'll tell you the rules. And I try not to get too heavy-handed because every league is different, but these are the rules. Don't be a jerk in fantasy football. In any sport, right?
That's right.
Obviously, you wouldn't make the trade proposal if a player was injured that you were either trading away or receiving. So have a little sense here, right? If that happens, because you're going to inevitably, if you play long enough, be on the wrong side of it. So my feeling is always the same, is a little bit of common decency goes a long way in fantasy sports. Fantasy football being the king of all fantasy sports. So just have a little bit of decency, people. Don't let this become something it's not. It's just fun.
Yeah, it seems a little suspect to go and accept it right as Breece Hall goes down.
Hey, Field, I know Jason said that was the last one, but I have one more quick question. Any big Chiefs salary cap moves this week that I should be keeping an eye out for, or is that just a last week thing?
You know what? I'm glad someone was paying attention. Yeah, it's one of those where you put yourself a little bit of a precarious spot because you feel like you're about 95% of the way to the story and don't have the final 5%. So, I wasn't at the spot where I was comfortable putting out exactly what had happened, but I knew something was in the works there. So, and also I think it's funny, and I don't know what's going to happen, but, typically when these teams create cap space, usually if they're doing so to facilitate another move, it happens concurrently, right? I think the Chiefs, they were somewhere they had $250,000 worth of cap space left. So that was you got to elevate players in the practice squad. You got to pay guys roster bonuses who have eclipsed their likely to be earned incentives. I know fans, I think we all love cap space. It's fun, right? But, cap guys I've talked to in the past have said they like to have an in-season budget of somewhere around $12 million to account for guys being cut, traded for, roster bonuses, incentives, you name all that stuff that can add up. So, adding $3.5 million, whatever the exact number was, certainly has your eyebrows raised for a minute. But I did not personally infer from that the Chiefs were on the doorstep of making a major move, which, by the way, probably means that they'll trade half their roster by tomorrow, and I'll look like an idiot.
Field, blink twice if you think they might make a move tomorrow. We won't be able to see it, of course, so you're safe.
Just be a little coy, about it.
I heard a wink,
week.
but not two full blinks.
Right,
I don't know what that means.
That's exactly right. Yeah, I thought it was maybe more procedural, but I think it's sort of twofold. It's kind of procedural, and if something comes up, it does give them a little flexibility that they can at least be interested in doing that and have an option of doing that. So, Field Yates from ESPN, our NFL Insider. Field, you're the man. Very much appreciate the time, sir.
I'll talk to you guys next week. Looking forward to it already.
Absolutely. There's Field Yates from ESPN, NFL Insider. As the Chiefs get the win against the 49ers, they look really good, bouncing back from the loss to the Buffalo Bills. The Broncos lose to the Jets. The Chargers get torched by the Seahawks. And the Raiders pull away from the Texans, who are right there. I mean, it was a 3-point game, Then the Raiders score a touchdown, and they go up 10 or 11 or whatever it might have been. And then the Texans are driving again, and then a pick six, and it just gets out of hand. And it's like, oh, the Raiders beat the Texans by 18, did what they should have done. Well, the Texans were covering for a good portion of that game. Texans were getting 7, and they were covering for a decent portion of that game. Even if you teased them up to 13, I don't know who would have, but even if you did that, you felt good about them covering in that game. It did not happen, but it wasn't exactly an impressive showing by the other 3 teams in the AFC West. But the injuries to the Chargers, the Broncos looking lost, and the Raiders pulling away and playing the way that they did against the Texans and being right there at a chance to beat the Chiefs as well. I mean, I don't know. Maybe the Raiders finish second in this division this year. Not saying that they're going to the playoffs, but they're a game and a half behind the Chargers. They lost to the Chargers earlier this year by 5. They get them again at home. Maybe they're in a better position to win that game. We'll see what the Chargers do along the way. But I would not be shocked at this point when it started off the first few weeks. All right, it's going to be Chiefs, Chargers, Broncos, and then the Raiders, to where it could end up being Chiefs, Raiders, Chargers, Broncos, because the Broncos look awful. I mean, they look bad.
But not meaningfully worse with Brett Rippon.
Right?
Oof.
Like, did anybody, like, you come away from that game, you watch that game, and game is over, they lose 16-9. Did anybody leave that game going, well, if they had Russell Wilson, it's a different ball game, and you just got to take that with a grain of salt. Injuries happen. Russell Wilson's out for a game. If he's playing, that's not the score. I don't think that. I don't know what the score would have been, but I'd still go with the Jets winning. Straight up, money line. I'd still go that route.
I had them in our over-under thingy for the video.
That a kid? The Jets?
Hey, Beard,
money
give
line?
yourself your first ever one from Braden.
Woo.
You earned it.
Nobody cares.
All right.
Yay!
By the way, you weren't even looking when he talked about Lowe.
He mentioned Zach Lowe, and I looked over to see if he said my friend and ESPN colleague Zach Lowe.
Oh.
See right there, their beards did the swoon that I was expecting from the first time. Imagine just being able to casually say the phrase "my friend Zach Lowe."
Would love that, right?
I'm gonna see. Beards, for your birthday next year, I'm gonna see if I can get Field Yates to get Zach Lowe to record like a voice memo to someone named Beards.
Hey Beards, it's Zach Lowe.
Hey Field, could you do us a really annoying favor? No, not to you. I need you to send this to Zach Lowe.
Right. No. We actually would like to use you to get to Zach Lowe.
Zach Lowe.
Yeah, you're the only person we could talk to. I don't have Jalen Rose's number, so I can't go through Jalen to get to Zach Lowe.
I frankly don't know who would be higher on the Beards like cameo chart than Zach Lowe. Hey Zach, could you just give just a fun Celtics basketball take? That'll make his week.
That was a nice swoon by Beards.
He really. My friend Zach Lowe. Oh, it just feels good to say.
Feels so lucky, man. He's so lucky. Gosh.
I'm 2 degrees of separation from Zach Lowe.
I could text Jeff Van Gundy and see if I can get his phone number.
Who could we text? Who in your phone right now could you text to see if you can get a hold of Zach Lowe?
The funniest contact game is we haven't played it in a little while. I was talking to a couple of friends this weekend about this exact fact. At one point, he went, "You have Jeff Van Gundy's phone number. You're 1 degree away from Jeff Van Gundy." And that one I think might be Beards' funniest. It's maybe my funniest.
It's my favorite to just paw and be like, yeah, I've got Jeff Van Gundy.
Maybe
Charlie Weiss is really good, though.
And that one's the best comedically that I have.
Adam Lefkoe, maybe I could text to see if he can hook us up with Zach Lowe or Jay Billis. I'm trying to think of those that would be basketball.
I'm just making sure I don't somehow have Zach Lowe's phone number.
What if you did?
This is everybody listening to this segment right now. This is basically like Pokemon for people in sports media. Is you're just seeing how many random phone numbers you've collected. I have no intention of ever just cold calling Jeff Van Gundy. But if anyone's ever like, hey, do you have Jeff Van Gundy's phone number? But yeah, sure, of course I do. Why wouldn't I?
Ooh, Seren Petro, I could give him a call, see if he knows.
Oh, I got one.
Yep.
You want to give this one a call or anything?
Oh, no, I don't. You've got his? Like, that's his actual number?
Sure is. God. He called into the to AES
That's
on
who I
ESPN
thought you were
Kansas
talking
City a
about.
long time ago.
God.
Long time ago.
What a turd of a human.
I just showed Jason Meister in Petro Contact, actually. It was Dan Dockage's phone number. I have not reached out in a while.
Yeah.
They can't all be Charizard, all right? somebody's got to be a Wurmple.
All right, we'll take a timeout. We'll come back and continue rolling. More so next.
You want to call Patrick Mahomes Sr.?
Yeah.
Want to see more of The Zone? Watch the show live on the Sports Radio 810 WHB Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Twitch. You're in the zone with Jason Anderson
To be honest, I didn't even know who Jason Anderson was.
on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
All right, we continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Jason Anderson with you, Josh Brisco, Beards. We had up until 2 o'clock. We'll talk with Mick Shaffer at 1 o'clock. Learn funniest best coming our way in the 1 o'clock hour as well. 913-912-4810 is the text line to be a part of the show, part of the conversation. So Chiefs get the big win over the 49ers, 44-23. Let's hear from Patrick Mahomes on the deep shot to MVS.
Real quick, I thought this was going to be the 57-yarder, but then going back again today, I think the question here is along the seam, which would have been the one that was between what looked like a little zone, the three guys playing a little cover three around him in that spot. Full disclosure, I think this is Jesse Newell's question. I do not know which of the deep shots it was. A good problem to have for the Chiefs offense.
I thought it sounded like the one that was the 57-yarder.
That's also what I thought initially, but Jesse had also asked about the seam specifically. I think all of this is totally relevant regardless.
Yeah.
But I realized this morning that I'm not 100% sure which of the deep bombs to MVS it was. Again, what a lovely thing to get to say on a Monday.
Here he is talking about that deep shot, whichever one it was,
One
to
of the deep bombs.
Marquez Valdez-Scantling, and how they came about recognizing that.
Yeah. So that was it was a kind of a skinny post route that wasn't really a big alert in my read, but the way that their safeties were playing in their cover four, I knew that they were going to drive Juju, who was the primary on the other side. And so once I saw McCole kind of clear out the middle and he was one-on-one, I just put it out there. And it's funny. I've told him, I was like, I miss you in Indy, so I've thrown these two kind of short, but I'm going to get them to where I can get some touchdowns out of these and put them out there a little bit even further.
He said you guys had a conversation, and maybe it was the first quarter, second quarter, just about the fact that he thought that route might be open later in the game.
Yeah. So how they were playing, I mean, I think you saw it on the first pick. Their safeties were driving down. They have aggressive safeties. They're really good, but they were kind of trying to use their pass rush to drive down and make plays. And that's what happened on the interception. And so once early in the game I saw that, we talked about it on the sideline. Right before we went on the sideline, I said, hey, it was the play I ended up hitting Travis on, the little out route he had ran early in the second quarter. I was like, hey, if they in that cover four shell again, if that safety drives, just make sure you kind of keep it up down the field. And so that's stuff that you build throughout a season. And I think we're going to continue to get better and better at that.
Yeah, so I was thinking, like, when he said they play that cover four shell when they come down and drive on it, which left him wide open, beating Charvarius Ward. So did Ward think he was going to have help back there, which is because the broadcast was like, what was Charvarius Ward doing? He just ran right by him. If he was expecting the safety maybe to play back a little bit, and then they drove on the underneath and it left MVS wide open over the top, that would make sense. That was sort of one of the things that I was thinking of, and I really didn't think about the 50-yarder. That was right before halftime, right?
Yeah, and the 57 was later in the game, so you heard McDowell's question there about talking earlier in the game. That the latter one there would have certainly been about the skinny post. Sounds about right. I think there's also a question elsewhere about kind of the go route, which I think was more of what it was down the seam for the earlier one, but that 57-yarder, I think, is what Mahomes was sort of diagramming there.
Watching the 50, the 57-yarder seems like what they were, because watching the 50-yarder,
I don't have the right angle on it right now. He's got Hardman. Hardman goes through and clears out, and Juju's the X on the opposite side.
He's also got MVS with a safety over the top of him. You know, so he catches it with somebody over the top. MVS does. Hufanga's running in that direction.
So that's the non-Charvarius Ward rep. So
the one right before half is the one
that's
that
what kind of gets dropped into the middle of the zone. It was interesting. Seth Kaiser has got his new film review out, and he took a minute on that play, and that was interesting.
The 50-yarder or the 57-yarder?
The 50, and in the middle of the field, more down the seam, where he kind of explains, because in real time that ball looked a little underthrown, right? Like, well, if you put that out in front of MVS further, but if you're watching it now, you'll know. I mean, any further out, and that catch becomes more contested. Having it drop back kind of in the bucket behind him a little bit, there was a lot of space there. Just a really interesting combination of the route, the defense, and where Mahomes put the ball. Then obviously on the Ward completion, the completion over Charvarius Ward, that was just grip it and rip it. I mean that was perfect.
Right, and so like no matter which play it was,
yes.
To me, the takeaway is they had seen that earlier.
Yes.
Here were the tendencies of the 49ers.
Yep.
This is what they were doing. They were playing a deeper pre-snap and then driving down, essentially saying, we're going to show that we're playing deep to force you to play underneath, and we're going to drive down on that either to knock the ball away or to tackle, short, keep everything in front of us. We're going to show you that we're not going to get beat over the top. But as they did that, eventually the Chiefs caught on and said, okay, next time they're in this look, MVS, Marquez or Valdez-Scantling, whatever he calls him. Next time they're in this look, I'm going to hit you. Just go and keep running. Just keep running. And it was obvious that Mahomes put a little air under it because he did have to slow down a little bit to get the ball. But he had beat him at that point so badly, Charvarius Ward, that you could have the ball slow down a little bit. I was just waiting for somebody to go, Tyreek Hill, how is that? How is that? I don't know. I don't know if Ward is just sprinting and then Tyreek Hill slows down a little bit and then he gets tackled as well. I know this. I know last night, Tyreek toasted his dude off the line. Toasted him. I'm talking 15 yards down the field. He already had 5 yards on the cornerback. And he had to stop and wait for it, and the safety knocked it away. Toasted him.
I'm done making jokes about Tua until I'm more confident that his brain is fully where
That's
it's supposed to be. But that's a fair critique.
Oh.
I'm just not making jokes until I know that his brain's okay.
And it looked like he really put a lot into it. It looked like he really just ripped it down the field. And Tyreek then had to sort of stop and try to come back for it, and the safety was there. It was close to a pass interference, one of those to where the safety's running and just running at Tyreek, but the ball stops and he reaches back. But right as he was reaching back, the safety, it hits him in the back.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, and Tyreek can't get there, and catch the ball. But just watching that, I'm like, the Dolphins are going to survive the Steelers because Kenny Pickett's small Saturday Night Live Kristen Wiig hands in the rain. I mean, it started raining.
And a lot of dropped interceptions.
It started raining, and he threw the ball, and it just started wobbling out of his hands. And it's like, we joke about hand size.
Yeah, it was tough for that to become relevant that quickly.
But that was a hand. I really wondered if they were going to go with Trubisky on the final drive. If they were going to bring in Trubisky on the final drive to say, sorry, dude, it's raining. We got a chance to win the game. You've thrown some bad passes, some interceptions. Our defense has kept us in this game and kept us in this game and kept us in this game. They have scored 0 points in the second half. We also have scored 0 points in the second half. And you've had giveaways where we could have put points on the board.
Yep.
And it's raining.
Yep.
We're going to go with Mitchell Trubisky here.
That'll be really good for the confidence of the young guy that they picked first, that they picked in their draft. And they're like, listen, you're the face of the franchise. You're going to be the next quarterback.
Unless it's raining.
But it's raining. You've got tiny hands, and we need Mitchell Trubisky right now in the final drive.
Which, by the way, no big deal if it's bad weather because they play in Pittsburgh.
Yeah,
so it's not a big deal in the
they have a
in the
dome
wintertime.
there, right?
Yeah.
It was Heinz Dome is what it used to be called. Now it's got a different name.
But of course, he played his college ball in Pittsburgh, so he should be used to that. And maybe it was just one pass that just came out of his hand awkwardly.
Sure,
Plus,
totally
he's lived with small hands his whole life.
That's exactly right. Yes, he knows he has small hands. He lives with them. But the fact that it was intercepted, and Holland was driving on the route, and it didn't get there fast enough because it wobbled there. It's a bad look.
Real tough scene.
It was a bad look. But you know what? Mahomes, he's right. He's missed MVS a couple of times this year. Was not going to miss him on that one. And the fact that was a 3rd and 11.
Yes.
At their own 19-yard line, they were up 5, and the 49ers had just scored that touchdown to Kittle to bring it to within 28-23. And they had 3rd and 11 at the Chiefs' own 19-yard line. And that play happened.
These weren't as big of plays just in terms of down and distance, but you mentioned with MVS and then also with sort of how it wasn't working in Miami last night. Patrick Mahomes, don't look anybody. Everybody look away. We don't want to make him nervous. We don't want to make a thing of this.
Okay.
But Patrick Mahomes threw a couple of absolute back shoulder
Oh, my God.
dots yesterday.
I was hoping you were going there.
Let's not talk. David, not too loud.
There was a part of me that was hoping you were going there because we were on the same page, and there was a part of me that was hoping you weren't going there so that I could bring it up.
That's fine. But see, this is if we played video games together, this would
He's
happen
right behind you.
every time this would happen.
He's in the store.
He hits the Juju back shoulder, going out of bounds, that got them into field goal range, and then the penalty moved them back, and then they missed it anyway, and so whatever. But that dot got him there.
Mm-hmm.
And then the first drive after halftime with Pacheco's return, that one to MVS. MVS caught 3 passes. He got 2 that were such big, deep bombs that we have a hard time differentiating them because one was 50 and one was 57. And the other was a 2nd and 7 absolute dot.
Yep.
That set up the next play touchdown run for Clyde.
So much of a dot that MVS can have it go through his hands, bounce off his face mask, and still, corral it into his body while he's laying down, and it's a completion. That's how perfectly placed in between it. Putting like Justin Tucker, if you put a line, if you put a crossbar in the middle of the crossbars,
which we should do, by the way, make it worth 4 points.
In the middle of the goalpost, he might hit that thing and have it bounce out. If you just sliced MVS down the middle, which I don't know why you would do that, but if you were to do that, it hit him right in the middle there on a back shoulder dime. You're right, and that was one of the other things I noted is like, oh, hey, by the way, they're doing back shoulder throws now.
I'm so excited for that to be a part of the offense.
Dude, I'm just excited because I spent far too much time talking about that when they signed MVS, when they signed Juju Smith-Schuster, that it was, okay, Mahomes has not had a guy that he can just simply throw the ball up to. Like outside of Kelsey, which down the middle, you've got that. But his receivers have been Tyreek Hill and Demarcus Robinson and Byron Pringle and when healthy Sammy Watkins, but not a guy that it's like, okay, this is just a guy running down the field and I'm going to back shoulder throw it, that he's going to body that guy or I'm going to throw it up and he's going to go and make a play. And he's got that now.
It's just impossible to defend. It is
nice to see.
Going stride for stride, sprinting as a defensive back, and suddenly the ball is just in MVS's pocket.
Yeah.
Sorry, man, I can't do anything about that. My arms aren't long enough. I don't have superpowers. How do you defend that back shoulder? You don't.
I mean, Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams made money and hay and wins and yards and stats off that back shoulder throw, which is almost unguardable. And now Aaron Rodgers has a bunch of receivers that can't even catch balls that hit them in the hands. Lazard dropped 3rd down. Tanyan dropped 3rd down. Sammy Watkins dropped 3rd down. Like, it's got to be, is it Doubs? D-O-U-B-S? I can't remember.
Dobbs. Romeo Dobbs?
Dobbs,
Yeah.
yes.
Sorry, I got distracted because I was watching the Juju back shoulder throw again, and I was just in a different world, man. I'm sorry.
It's nice, yeah. Couldn't remember his name. He had a drop on 3rd down that was right there. Just, boy, if you didn't have Commanders plus the points or money line, you would have been very annoyed watching that. Instead, you might have been happy watching all of those drop passes.
Anybody you know?
No, because nobody cares. No. We'll take a timeout. More Zone next.
Follow the show on Twitter at J810Anderson, at JB Brisco, at Beards McFly, and at Sports Radio 810. The Zone with Jason Anderson.
Text says, love you guys, or excuse me, says like you guys. I apologize. Another text said, love the show. Sorry, I've combined those. I apologize. Like you guys. I don't want to exaggerate.
Weekdays from 10 to 2 on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
All right, we continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. We'll talk with Mick Shaffer coming up at 1 o'clock. So we're trying to figure out, like, J.C. Jackson. We know it's going to be significant regardless, but everything we had seen was a dislocated kneecap. ESPN was talking about J.C. Jackson's injury, and it just read J.C. Jackson dislocated knee.
That was per Schefter, it said, right?
That seems like it's much more significant to dislocate your entire knee, or maybe it's interchangeable in the medical world of a dislocated kneecap is a dislocated knee. I'm not sure. The Pro Football Doc on Twitter and some others looked at it and said, yeah, that's going to be a patella, seeing what happened immediately, and a MPFL injury, a medial patellofemoral ligament injury.
Yeah, patella is the tendon there with your kneecap, so that's all kind of.
So it said,
I think that was Lucas Niang's. Yeah, he's a patella tendon.
Right, like that one was a where the kneecap, pops out, slips off to the side of the joint, which is the MPFL injury. So, but it has to be more significant, you would think, than Patrick Mahomes' dislocated kneecap in 2019, because Mahomes walked off the field and J.C. Jackson was in tears, and they air cast the entire leg and put him right on a cart and take him out. And it's like viewed as this is going to be really bad for J.C. A very significant knee injury. And you would think a dislocated kneecap would be pretty significant knee injury, except for Patrick Mahomes and what we've seen. And maybe that was just the incredibly rare instance of Mahomes just living right. That, his apparently Gumby ligaments that also stretch like Stretch Armstrong, that, allows him to not have any of those injuries or whatever. Maybe that's why he suffered, just the few weeks absence, and others might have had a significant knee injury. But it just, when I saw that up there, it said dislocated knee, and I'm like, well, that's a horse of a different color, it feels like. But it is unfortunate. J.C. Jackson was a guy that, I thought the Chiefs would be or should be interested in the offseason.
Yeah.
The Chargers get him, which added to them winning the offseason and being the AFC West champions in August. But even outside of injury, he hasn't really.
He got benched last week.
He got benched.
Last week, they fully said, hey, we'll hit a reset button and try again next week out. And then obviously this week, he gets hurt. Yeah, I mean, it's just looking like a really sort of at least disastrous first year of that signing. I don't remember the terms of the deal off the top of my head, but just as you've said a few times already, horrible injury luck for the Chargers as a continuing point of reference is one of the more sort of amazing, terrible things in the sport.
Speaking of Patrick Mahomes and his ability to bounce back from that injury a few years ago, bouncing back after the INT, you know that Patrick Mahomes had 2 interceptions and 3 pass attempts against Buffalo.
Yeah.
The 1-yard pass to Mecole Hardman and then interception. He talks about bouncing back after that interception early in the game.
I mean, I knew we needed to, after the pick, we needed to go down there and get points on that next drive. You don't want them to get too far ahead because how efficient and good their run game is. And so we were able to move the ball down the field that next drive and get it into the end zone on McColl's first jet sweep thing. And so we knew that we needed to get points on the board. But, I mean, like I said, I saw early that their safeties were playing a little closer than teams usually play us. So I knew we'd have opportunities. It was just going to take us protecting, which our O-line did a terrific job of against a great D-line. And guys winning downfield, which they did.
So we hear about, we've talked so much about wide receivers and man coverage. Man coverage, wide receivers. Wide receivers, man coverage. Man coverage, how do you beat it? Your wide receivers. Are the wide receivers gaining separation? Why aren't the wide receivers winning against man coverage? These teams are running more man coverage against the Chiefs because they don't believe the wide receivers can win one-on-one. It's the second time in how many weeks going back to the Raiders game? So
3.
Second time in 3 weeks that we've heard Patrick Mahomes say, man coverage, give me time to protect.
Yep.
So I kind of feel like the man coverage, when we're focusing so much on wide receivers, that the man coverage being more about the offensive line and what they can do to give them time to complete the pass.
From Mike Chappelle on Twitter.
Colts reporter.
You mean Dave Chappelle.
I've been covering the Colts since they came to Indy in '84. I checked because this tweet seems impossible. Per source, Colts benching Matt Ryan, turning to Sam Ehlinger. Sam makes first career start Sunday versus Washington. Nick Foles will be number 2.
Poop?
The Indianapolis Colts have just tweeted out from their official Twitter account, Sam Ehlinger will start.
Well,
you know
Frank
what?
Reich has said it now, too.
You know what? Sam Ehlinger now has time off. Royal season's over.
That man's busy.
He can go and play some quarterback for the Colts. Could he be worse than what Matt Ryan has been giving them?
Yeah. I guess Frank Reich wants to find out. Does he hate being employed?
Can we get Sam Ehlinger on the air? Can we be the first one to talk, to get an interview with Sam Ehlinger about starting for the Colts this weekend against the Commanders?
I might not now because we made a joke of it on air, but I was considering just texting him, congrats. It might be soon enough that he doesn't know yet. I'm sure he knows.
Is there something more symmetrical along with it, that they're facing off against the Commanders, who had Carson Wentz, but he's injured, but the Colts went and got Matt Ryan because of Carson Wentz? Now neither will be starting for their team?
This SportsCenter is brought to you by Ferguson. Ferguson is currently seeking appliance installation technicians with both entry-level and advanced levels of experience, with starting pay rate $23 an hour and a $1,000 sign-on bonus. Go to 810WHB.com/community job connections and click on the Ferguson link to apply at 810WHB.com. The Kansas City Chiefs enter their bye week with a win after a 44-23 victory over the San Francisco 49ers. Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs offense were nearly perfect after getting into an early 10-point deficit. Juju Smith-Schuster led the team with 7 receptions for 124 yards and a touchdown, while McCole Hardman scored 3 touchdowns of his own. The Kansas City Current last night also victorious and advancing to the NWSL Championship. You'll be able to hear that live right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB on Saturday evening. Coming up next in the zone, Mick Shaffer of KSHB 41. That's next on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
The Zone with Jason Anderson.
Hey, I'm Mick Shaffer. I was in the lake this weekend. I don't like fish. Hey, Mick.
So, not even like shrimp or anything?
No, I don't like shrimp and none of that.
Interesting. Like
I hate
scallops.
my family and fish.
Weekdays from 10 to 2 on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
All right, we continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. All right, so we're getting to the bottom of the whole Matt Ryan, Sam Ehlinger, Nick Foles situation. So, the report, Matt Ryan not playing this weekend, Sam Ehlinger will start. Then we hear that Matt Ryan has a grade 2 shoulder separation and will not play this weekend. Nick Foles is the number 2 starter. Then Frank Reich at his press conference says Sam Ehlinger will start the rest of the year even if Matt Ryan is healthy. So it is now a benching of Matt Ryan.
Benching and an injury. It's a benjury.
It's a benjury. It's an injury. An injury bench.
I like my made-up word better.
I like yours better.
You've had some binjuries over the years.
Lots of them.
You know, Sunday morning comes around and you suddenly realize you suffered some binjuries over the weekend.
Or you've had some binjuries that start with the binge and you get injured from doing that.
I feel like baseball is the sport of binjuries, right? To where pitchers lost 5 in a row, can't get out of the third inning, you walk by, you step on his toenail. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, whoops. That's a 10-day deal, right? You would take care of that toe, right?
Yeah, gotta figure that toe out.
Step on it with my cleats.
Yeah, you need a toe. I can get you a toe. So it seems like this is a time where Frank Reich can go, he's got to play anyway. Sam Ehlinger does because Matt Ryan's going to miss.
God intervened and
so he's
dealt
just
him
our
an
quarterback moving forward because Matt Ryan has been bad.
Yeah.
But you know what? He beat Patrick Mahomes this year, so take that, Patrick.
He was that bad in that game, and he still beat Patrick Mahomes. Well, he beat the Chiefs defense.
How?
And the Chiefs
I don't know.
special teams
I think
beat themselves, and the Chiefs offense was not good either.
I think Matt Ryan's defense kind of beat the. See, I was wondering if it was that play against the Titans. They're showing a replay of that where Matt Ryan gets tripped and just falls like a sack of potatoes on his right shoulder. Nobody landed on him. He was just sort of trying to get away from pressure, and he tried to step over, and they grabbed his ankle, and he fell, and it looked like looks like somebody asleep falling out of bed. I mean, just like he didn't brace himself. It just ponk. Like, what? That's the hardest I've seen a quarterback fall ever when he just simply fell.
He should be flagged for putting all his own weight on himself.
It's also how I actually envision Matt Ryan getting up in the morning. Is just sort of
rolling out of bed,
hitting the ground out of bed, and then like having his wife pull him up off the ground like a teammate. You know, I just think he's taking a lot of hits.
All right. So Sam Ehlinger.
And it's great they're playing the Commanders.
Yes,
and
it's
they're
so
just
great.
doing like the Superman pointing at each other. Look at us. We both made Carson Wentz mistakes.
Carson Wentz wasn't good enough, so they went to get Matt Ryan. He went to the Commanders because the Colts didn't want him, and now the Commanders and Colts are playing, and neither Carson Wentz or Matt Ryan will be playing this weekend because they're both injured. They're both
injured.
They're both injured. That's right. Carson Wentz, I think, is injured. Matt Ryan is binjured.
Commanders looked better without the binjured player, though.
You are correct.
A lot better.
Taylor Heineke should probably be your Heineke and Ehlinger going at it this weekend. The Ehlinger and Heineke matchup that everybody has been waiting for since the schedule was released.
Let me fire open DraftKings here, man. I got a good read on this one.
Plus 250 if you can spell both their last names correctly.
Oh, no.
Heineckee and Ehlingер.
H-E-I-H-E-H. Oh, sorry. I thought you were doing Ellinger.
No,
Sorry, okay.
Ehlinger
Okay,
is
yes,
Ellinger.
sorry.
And then
Heineke,
Melli.
Nger. Heineke, Heinecke.
I think so.
I think.
How many letters were in each of their names, Mick?
8 and 9.
Do you know he can do this? Do you know this game that Mick can do?
I've heard
That's
about
8 and 8.
this.
So it's 8 and 8.
How many
Mick
letters in
Shaffer.
Anderson?
8.
8.
I gotta get going.
They got to warm you up.
Shake
That's
it
all
up.
right.
There we go. Shake it up.
How many letters in Marquez Valdez Scantling?
7, 6, 9.
That's pretty good. Add them up.
22.
21. Damn it. Right? You said 7. What did you say?
7, 6, 9.
That is 22. Damn it.
22. What are you talking
Sorry,
about?
that's 22. No,
All right,
you're right.
I'm
Guys,
looking
I
at
do
the
individual words at one time. I don't do multiple.
All right, what is the line for this weekend?
Spell 1-800-HELP. Hope NY. What is it? What's the phone number? How many letters are in that for Jason?
I can't get there. It's too much.
Colts are 3-point favorites this weekend over the Commanders.
I'll take it. You know, I'm going to go and swing through.
I'll
You know
go
what?
ahead-
I'm going to go ahead and swing on by.
I'll go ahead and take the Commanders.
Yeah, why don't I?
Money line plus 140.
Yeah, I like it.
Commanders. Go ahead and do that.
Those
Oh.
points are kind of tasty.
Nobody cares.
You're giving advice, Beard. This is investment advice.
People do care. I wish.
This is hold on, Jason. This is not investment advice. Sorry, I
thanks.
just said that thing. I want to make sure I said the other thing.
No, I thought that was Denny there.
Jason. Hold on, Jason. Before you go betting, you should probably get some advice from somebody, or your money will be gone.
That's pretty good. I like that.
Gone,
You can
bank
definitely
account.
shift that into Sean Connery in like 2 steps. That I've just realized.
You're wrong, Trebek.
I'm telling you, it's not
It's
that
never
far
going to
off.
happen, Trebek.
A lot of
Ian Rappaport is
slurring
spinning
of
harder than
words.
Nick
Gotta have a
Bosa right now, man. He
Gotta
is.
have a
Rappaport is confused about what the reporting he's doing is. It's just on the.
So what's going on with Rappaport now?
It's just the starting quarterback on Sunday, grade 2 shoulder separation, and now he's quote tweeting that Zach Kiefer tweet with the important part. I just saw Kent Swanson made a joke that Matt Ryan's agent was tweeting from Rappaport's account again.
He's injured. He's injured. Okay, he's been benched. He's injured. You should really tweet that out.
You really should, Mick.
Yeah. So I wonder oftentimes when Rappaport and Schefter and all these guys are rapid fire tweeting out news, breaking news that's affecting fan bases all over the country. What's going on around them at the time? Because at first you picture, okay, they're in this stately office where they're tweeting this out, maybe on a keyboard and everything. They've got assistants all over the place on the phones. When in reality, I'm wondering if they're just watching like Disney Channel with their kids.
Yeah,
and they're
toilet.
Like, hold on a second, or toilet.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's where most of my best tweets come
The
from.
best thinking. Brad Spielberger at Pro Football Focus, who does a great job covering the salary cap, but he tweets this out, says, only quarterbacks graded lower than Matt Ryan so far this season, Justin Fields, Cooper Rush, Joe Flacco, and Baker Mayfield. Then this coming from Zach Kiefer.
And none of those guys have been full-time starters, correct?
Justin Fields is the
Fields
only one.
has.
Yeah, but Flacco, no. Baker, yay and nay.
Not really, not last weekend.
Cooper, certainly no. This from Zach Kiefer says, Frank Reich openly admitting what we've been writing for weeks. The Colts didn't hold up their end of the bargain with Matt Ryan. A great O-line and great run game. Frank Reich said, quote, we didn't deliver on what they told Matt Ryan the offense was going to be with him at the quarterback. Because the O-line has been trash and the running game hasn't been all that good. Because Matt Ryan
also throws it directly to other teams.
Well, he hasn't been good, but he has been getting beaten to hell in the in the backfield, and it was supposed to be, hey, don't worry, I know you're old and your body's about to break down, but our offensive line is legit. It's really good. It's going to be based on the run game. It's going to give you time and play action, and you'll be protected. And instead, it's, don't worry, you only got hit 20 times in this game. It could have been 25, 26. So, yeah, he's been getting beat up. But somehow, like, we may look back and be like, the biggest upset of the year was the Colts.
But you know what?
Beating the Chiefs.
If you're going to drop a game, drop it against a non-contender. Right? You wouldn't trade that with the Chargers win. Wouldn't trade that out.
No, not at all.
With even a Raiders win, right? Division. That's one of the best losses. It feels horrible. It's one of the best losses they could take.
Weird. It's the best loss. Well, it's like, they're sitting 5-2, and it's like, okay, this is where the schedule is supposed to lighten up. I had the Chiefs going 4-3 and then 8-2 the rest of the way to end up 12-5. If they end up going 8-2, well, I mean, now you're talking about a 13-4 season, which is pretty good. Puts you in position to be a number 1 seed or number 2 seed. But if
But
this
if
is
they're one game better like they were in the first 7 from your prediction.
right now,
It's 9
if
and
they're
1.
9-1,
14-3.
plus their 5 wins already, 14-3, you're starting to, look even better. But so if you're like, okay, looking through there, but who they lose to? I don't know. Houston. I mean, who are they going to lose to? I don't know. I certainly didn't.
Is
look
there
at
another Colts game out there? We talked about that. Did they spin their Yahtzee chance right away?
Houston on the road,
or are they just
at Houston?
I think the Chiefs have the highest ceiling of any team out there, especially offensively. I mean, just what we saw yesterday and what we saw in Tampa, no other team can match that firepower. Now it's like, how consistent can they be, and where's that floor? Because it's pretty low if if losing to the Colts.
I think there are 2 air quotes Colts games left this year. The Jags at home. They play the Titans on Sunday Night Football, then the Jags at noon on Sunday, and then they head to L.A. for a 3:25 game of the week against the Chargers the next week. That's a Colts-type game between the Cardinals, or between the Chargers Thursday night and then Tampa Bay on the road for Sunday night. And then later on, the Houston Texans. They face off against Denver, Sunday Night Football. Then they go to Houston.
So you're calling it a Colts-type game just based on the schedule?
Based on schedule and, who else on their schedule would be a team where you lost that game and you went, oh, my God, how awful is that? Losing against the Titans Sunday Night Football, it wouldn't be great, but it wouldn't be, you lost to the freaking Colts.
Right.
Jacksonville at home wouldn't be as bad as the Colts, but it'd still be like, come on, you're better than Jacksonville. You're better than the Jags. Come on, you can't drop that game.
I would say maybe any loss to the Broncos.
I was going to say, I don't think they sweep the AFC West anymore, but
in L.A. is not one that you'd be like, how did you lose that one? Rams at home, they've got talent, and they might have Odell Beckham Jr. on that by that time in November 27th.
But anybody might have Odell Beckham Jr.
That's true. In Cincinnati.
You said they. You meant the Chiefs, right?
Yes, that's right.
Okay.
In Cincinnati for a Bengals team that looks like it's starting to hit its stride offensively. At Denver, where at that time we're going to find out that, Denver's third-string quarterback was the best one. I have no idea. At Denver, Russell Wilson, Sunday Night Football.
Thank God
you got to win.
Denver's back on.
Yeah,
TV
you got
at
to.
night.
Yeah. At Houston, home for Seattle.
MVP Geno Smith's coming to town, though.
MVP, no.
Okay.
Yeah, keep working on that one.
Yeah.
Denver at home, and then in Las Vegas. The end of the season. I think it's Jacksonville and Houston, the only ones you look at. I know that, how do you lose to the Broncos? You can't lose to the Broncos. I get it, but.
I have another Ian Rappaport tweet for you, just on the Matt Ryan front. That's sort of fun.
I think this might
What's
be
he
the one I
reporting
was
now?
about to read.
It's just some extra info from Rappaport.
Is this the money thing?
When the trade went down, Matt Ryan received a contract adjustment. Now, $24.7 million this year is fully guaranteed, and $12 million was fully guaranteed in 2023. Plus an additional $17.2 million that is guaranteed for injury becomes fully guaranteed the third day of the 2023 league year. He's making $12 million next year. He might be making $29 million next year if they don't cut him by the end of the second day of the league year.
Well, what's the point of what's the point of not cutting him at the end? If Sam Ehlinger is your quarterback moving forward, then
$12 million. $12 million dead cap hit to cut him.
No matter what.
No matter what.
What's the cap hit to have him?
20, probably 29 would be my guess.
So you're saving 17 as a backup quarterback.
And this is not a free agent addition. They traded for Matt Ryan.
Right.
Speaking of which, the Colts
They traded for Carson Wentz too.
Well, they traded 1 first-round pick and 2 third-round picks for 2 quarterbacks no longer on the team. That's the StatMuse tweet.
That's including Matt Ryan, right? Or is that pre-Matt Ryan?
That's Matt Ryan and Carson Wentz.
Okay, so not currently starting on the team. Matt Ryan's on the team.
Yeah.
But read that again then.
The Colts traded 1 first-round pick and 2 third-round picks for 2 quarterbacks no longer playing for them.
They could have gotten Christian McCaffrey for that.
But if I'm the Colts, if it's the team that I'm covering, and the coach has said that quarterback isn't good enough to start for you anymore and has moved down the depth chart, and he's $29 million against the cap next year as opposed to $12 to cut, I'll take the $17 million cap savings for a guy that wasn't good enough anyway, and I'll figure it out after that. You just got to simply take your medicine at that point. You take your medicine back-to-back years for what you traded for Carson Wentz and then trading for Matt Ryan. Stop doing that. Stop doing. Panthers, stop trading for Sam Darnold and Baker Mayfield.
Chiefs,
Colts,
totally go trade for Brian Burns. 2 first rounds if that's what it takes.
Go get Jonathan Taylor.
Trade for that defensive end and give him a big contract.
That's right. Colts, stop trading for Carson Wentz's and Matt Ryan's of the world. And I get it. They're in a position because Andrew Luck put them in this position. You know, they had Andrew Luck. They were fine. They
put themselves in this position
Yeah, I don't
because they
think
didn't
Andrew
make an
Luck
offensive line good enough to protect him.
Yeah,
Well,
Andrew
that
Luck
too.
was dying back there and playing incredible football. Andrew Luck just retired.
Right, retired abruptly, and they had figured out their quarterback position. They didn't have to worry about the quarterback at that point, other than building an offensive line. You're right, but
I'm not blaming Andrew Luck for Carson Wentz. I'm
not blaming it. I'm saying that they're in the position because they thought they were good at that
They
spot.
thought they were going to have Andrew Luck this year.
Yeah, you got Andrew Luck for the next 10, 12, 13 years. Quarterback is one thing we don't have to worry about. And then all of a sudden you do. For sure. And at that point, you're kind of just middle of the pack. So what do we do here? Do we trade up? Probably should have done that to go and get a quarterback, do whatever it takes. Like the Chiefs went from 27 to 10. I mean, you're just going to have to give up this first round, next first round, if there's somebody you love that you think will be available that other teams in front of you don't already love and covet and want as well. So it's got to be that perfect storm like the Chiefs had with Patrick Mahomes. Sucks for the Colts, but don't really care.
It's just hilarious. I just
Sucks
was
for them.
Googling to get the exact timeline of Andrew Luck's retirement, and not only was I
It was like the
reminded of
third
the fact,
preseason game.
not only was I reminded of the fact that it's hilarious that Phillip Rivers retired after Andrew Luck did, it's that Phillip Rivers replaced Andrew Luck.
Yeah.
It's just
they went
that
from-
timeline just doesn't make any sense. Like Andrew Luck retired before Alex Smith, Phillip Rivers, and Ben Roethlisberger, and Tom Brady. Obviously,
Andrew Luck played in his final NFL game.
The Chiefs.
That makes sense.
I saw both his final college game and his final NFL game. I was at the 2012 Fiesta Bowl, Stanford, Oklahoma State.
Wow.
Go Pokes.
That's awesome.
And then was at the Snow game in the playoffs here.
How about that? I was at that one as well. It was a divisional round game. It was a big one. It was big. Got the Arrowhead monkey off the back.
It was the
Finally got that win and then set up for the AFC Championship game. And it's like, you know what? If they beat the Colts, doesn't matter. They can face the Chargers or the Patriots. They're going to win that one. I actually hope it's the Patriots. They are a
People
better
were
team
wanting
than
the Patriots, and I was like,
wanted the
what are you
Patriots.
thinking?
I wanted the Patriots. That's so stupid. Why would you want Tom Brady?
You just
Why would you-
forget what happened the previous 15 years?
just felt like they were just better. They were just better than the Patriots, and it's at home, and they finally got that whole, the horrors of Arrowhead behind them, and they were going to go out and they were going to win a Super Bowl.
Where's your Tom Brady washed watch right now? Then,
As I
Nick?
say, it turns out Tom Brady had exactly 3 years left after that.
All right. Okay. Good to know.
Exactly 3 years left after that.
No, it turns out that the only thing holding him up was Giselle.
There's another story out online tonight right now that I'm not going to reference, but I'll tell you about during the break.
Okay.
Tom Brady's life is very interesting.
Well,
I say that slightly sarcastically, but slightly seriously.
His football team is not.
That is very
They
much
are
true.
boring to watch. Boring to watch.
Further you get away from it, you're like, hey, how did the Chiefs give up 31 to those guys?
The Chiefs' wins and losses keep looking
felt
worse.
so good about things after that, and now it's like, yeah, maybe we should be Buccaneers by like 2 more touchdowns.
Those back-to-back
41 to 17 or something like that.
Back-to-back weeks. Like, how do you lose to the Colts? How do you give up 31 to the Bucs? Oh, my goodness. What a terrible 2-week stretch. Then you down 17-0 to the Raiders. Then you lose to the Bills. You're down 10-0 to the 49ers. This team sucks.
The bad news.
Break them up.
It's a long distance between ceiling and floor with the Chiefs, I'm telling you. And most of it's because their ceiling is so high.
I know.
But they'll lay out some stinkers as far as quarters go, and sometimes halves, and occasionally a game.
The bad news is that the Chiefs have only played one good team this year. The good news is there are only 2, maybe 3 good teams this year, and they're one of them.
What's your definition?
So, I mean, they lost to the Bills, they are themselves, and they don't play the Eagles.
We're not
so I don't
counting
know.
the Chargers as a good team.
Not
after
yet.
yesterday.
Not yet.
Right.
That offense is hard to watch.
They're 5-2, but who have they played? They've only played one good team.
That's right, and they lost.
One good team, and they lost that game. It's like a college football breakdown.
You've got
the best team they played.
Georgia
they lost
and
to.
Alabama.
How are they ranked in the top 5? I mean, who have they played? The best team they faced, they lost to, and they have one of the worst losses on anybody's resume. And yet this team is still top 5? It's because they're in the SEC. It's the only reason. It's because they're in the SEC, Patrick Mahomes, and everybody loves them. It's this whole, hey, the Patrick Price and whatever.
Remember when everybody
that
thought the
argument's
AFC
right
West
about
was gonna be-
college, but it's not when
I
it
know.
pertains to the Chiefs.
Remember when the AFC West was going to be the SEC this year?
Oh.
Broncos are 2-5.
Now it's the NFC East,
Yeah, we'll see about that.
the NFC Beast.
I guess it is.
I asked
They're going to get 3 playoff teams, and none of them are going to make a conference championship. There's my prediction, I think.
I asked Field Yates this question. I'll ask you guys a question. Going back to the beginning of the season, what would be more surprising? The New York teams being 11-3,
yes,
or the Bucks and Packers being 6-8?
No. It's a great question, but it's Mick and
Bucks
Dan.
and Packers.
We've seen Packers start off the season slow before, so half of that, I'm like, okay, I get it.
No Devontae Adams. You could.
Yeah.
It's looked worse than even that hypothetical would have been, to be clear. You can talk yourself into
What's
it.
lasted longer, Rodgers and Brady being great, or the New York teams being awful? Probably
that's
the
a
New York teams being
good
awful.
question.
Well, I guess they've won.
They
two
won.
Super-
They won a couple Super Bowls with Eli. Outside of those 2 Super Bowl runs, though, I mean, did Eli ever even make the playoffs?
I never won a playoff game outside of those 2 years.
Yeah, right. And they had to. They were wild card both times.
I could have reverse engineered. Oh, Brady starts slow and he's old and he'll hit his stride mid-season. Rodgers the same deal. No
Yeah.
number 1 receiver. New guys around him. You could have put me in an empty room for a very long time to come up with a way that I guess Brian Daboll's a genius, and I don't know what the Jets are doing. I still don't know. I understand the Giants better than the Jets at this point. Both of them are an absolute mystery, though.
You would have needed Matt Damon as Will Hunting to go and create this math problem to solve it. That those 2 teams end up 11-3 combined.
It's
11-3.
shocking.
Yeah, I just. That's a crazy, screwy season.
One of the
man.
Jets' wins was over the Packers.
Right, and they beat the Packers. So did the Giants.
What are we doing?
The Giants beat the Packers.
They both beat the Packers.
They both beat the Packers.
One of them beat the Packers in London.
Yes. The Jets went on the road into Denver with Russell Wilson. Oh, wait, he's not there. But they traded for Russell Wilson. The Broncos were going to win the West. Everything was fixed. And they went there and won.
That trade looks good, by the way.
Oh. They are in some rough shape, dude.
You just absolutely hate to see it, man. I mean, it's
Broncos
just
are in
the worst.
Rough shape. Salary cap. Their first rounders going to Seattle next year.
Oh, it's so sad.
Geno Smith is bawling.
Oh, no.
Broncos fans are looking at Russell Wilson and bawling.
Like bawling out?
With the W. The only W they've gotten this year, of course.
We got as many W's as
In the word
Russell
ball.
Wilson. All right, we'll take a timeout. We'll come back. We'll do some Learn Funniest Best next.
Follow the show on Twitter at J810Anderson, at JB Brisco, at Beards McFly, and at Sports Radio 810. The Zone with Jason Anderson.
You know, there's a player on the Royals currently that whose final 44 games of 2018 was a 262 batting average, 353 on base, 597 slug, and 950 OPS with 12 home runs, 30 RBIs, another 10 doubles, 2 triples. And that guy's name is Ryan O'Hearn.
I'm going to pretend I heard all those numbers.
Weekdays from 10 to 2 on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
I love that returner. I just absolutely love that.
Sums us both up.
It totally does. Here are a bunch of numbers. Here's me not listening.
Is it 2 o'clock yet?
Oh, my God. I'm going to tell Chad I can't keep doing this. I can't keep doing this, man, subjecting myself to this torture. All right, 913-912-4810. Let's get to learned, funniest, best. We go around the room. What we learned from the weekend, the funniest from the weekend, and the best from the weekend. Okay, so what I learned, besides Mississippi State getting just trounced by Alabama and their quarterback going 30 of 60 with about 15 dropped passes included, is that Mike Leach is worried about a reverse evolution with his players based on that game and what he's seen so far. Take a listen. It's about a minute and a half. This is Mike Leach on his team and his concern with evolution.
I'm genuinely fearful that on our team, if me and the other coaches don't get them right, that about a generation from now, their kids and their grandkids won't have hands. Because, from a lack of use, those hands just disappear. I mean, and maybe they'll be like this, like those dinosaur hands like this are, you see? And you got like a Tyrannosaurus Rex who's clearly good at eating things, big old jaws and all that stuff, fairly athletic, can run. Well, his hands are like this. And I think we took a very, very, very big step as a team, which we have to correct this. We have to correct this because, I think that in the end that it's going to be best for all these guys that they have good hand development and that they don't evolve to where they don't have hands. Okay, but we definitely didn't use ours, and so there certainly wasn't any genetic reinforcement on our part that we should maintain our hands. I mean, and I don't want all of a sudden, guys driving across this country, and then they get to Starkville, Mississippi, and all of a sudden there's these athletic-looking, friendly guys, because we have great guys, that don't have any hands. And I hope that that's not the case. But that's where we're headed right now, and we're going to try to get that fixed in this off week.
God, that might be the greatest Leach thing ever, which is saying a lot.
Jason, when you said evolution, I was hoping it would be in a very literal sense, and it was. And it was incredible. In honor of Mike Leach, my elbows will not leave my sides. I'm going T-Rex arms for the remainder of this segment.
Because he even did like the pantomime. He even did a T-Rex. They're like this, and then he broke down the T-Rex as an athlete. Big, has a tough bite, fairly athletic.
Fairly athletic.
Fairly athletic.
Didn't have any genetic reinforcement today. Genetic reinforcement is a phrase I've never heard before.
I'm worried that their next generation are going to have hands.
So good.
That's one way of saying like we should be better at catching the football.
How's that not your funniest? Or your best, or maybe it is still.
I told you I've got like 7 funniest that I've got to try to find a way to
Well,
make them
I'm glad
learn
that one
funniest and the best.
no,
that wasn't
hit the cutting room
That
floor.
wasn't going to hit the cutting room. I
That
figured
was worth
I would start off with that, like almost like dessert, and then work my way backwards. All right, go ahead.
What I learned this week was a brand new slang term that I'm going to try to get going. Don't get nervous, everybody.
Okay.
Last night in the post-game show, a fellow Type 1 diabetes haver in the comment section commented, Type 1, I was talking about Mark Andrews and myself.
Yep.
The Type 1 represent Sweet Bloods Unite. And now I just want to make Sweet Bloods a thing for diabetics. It sounds like how we'd talk about diabetes if it gave you special superpowers in some sort of fantasy world. And then D.P. Owens J., known as Lifelong Battlehawks fan on Twitter, asked what the inverse is. What's the Muggle version? Jason won't know this. He hasn't seen Harry Potter. Mick, you've seen Harry Potter, right?
I have. You haven't seen Harry Potter?
Muggle version?
Yeah.
So Sweet Blood sounds like Mud Blood, right? That's the
guys
whole
are
thing there,
nerds.
right? Exactly.
The only
Get Ryan
movie I've
O'Hearn
ever
slash
heard of
line
that
again.
You haven't seen.
So what's the Muggle version? He eventually, we went back and forth. He suggested the insulated. It implies protected from greater truth/power, and also plays off the fact that you make your own insulin. So we have the sweet bloods and the insulated now. That's what I've learned is going to be how I refer to people who have diabetes and people who don't have diabetes from this point forward.
You can say it because you have it. I don't have it. It's like it's slander.
Exactly.
But hey, if I have it, I could say it. It's
right.
Yeah.
Mud blood, you could say. I think it honestly depends on the tone. If you go, "Oh, you sweet bloods," then I think all of a sudden that's hate speech.
Yeah.
I think if it's, "Hey, Josh over here," he's my sweet blood friend.
Yeah, I've never really gotten into epithets against the diabetics. But if I do, I'll now know. I guess.
I think that might
shied
be
away from that. You don't want to be canceled.
I do.
I think that might be like a custom jersey sort of thing for me. I think sweet blood 99. It's a good number for your blood sugar to be.
Wow.
Anyway, that's what I learned. Shout out to the commenters and tweeters that helped me get that together.
Interesting learned.
Mm-hmm.
What'd you learn, Mick?
So I learned that I have a favorite restaurant in Dallas, Texas. If I ever go down there and I bring my mouth, I don't want to eat. Okay?
If you bring your mouth?
Yeah.
In your mouth.
So we know this after Sunday Sound Off. Every Sunday is a show called In Depth with Graham Benzinger. It's actually really good. He gets some good interviews. He's really good at it. And
he goes in depth.
Long form. He goes in depth. You got Will Zalatoris last night, who's a great dude, and he gets made fun of for looking like the caddy from Happy Gilmore. That's that golfer.
Yep.
You might have seen him. That's maybe how you would know him.
Yeah,
skinny and blonde hair.
What is his wand made out of? Dragon's feather or anything? The expression Mick just made is really challenging.
Did you say dragon's feather?
I did. I think it's a phoenix feather wand you could have, or
Are we talking Harry Potter again?
Yeah, that was my joke.
Oh, okay.
I haven't seen Caddyshack. He hasn't seen Harry Potter, so I
just let it go.
Well, I said Happy Gilmore.
He said Happy Gilmore.
Sorry, what did I say? I haven't seen Happy Gilmore either.
Haven't seen Happy Gilmore. You were like, that's your wheelhouse, like your age. And anyway, so great dude, and they do an interview at his favorite restaurant in Dallas. It's called 18th and Vine. 18th and Vine Barbecue. I'm like, wait a second.
Hold on.
Wait a second.
I know
look it up.
those.
18th and Vine Barbecue specializes in Kansas City style smoked meats and chef crafted entrees. And it's a cool place. I looked it up. It's not a coincidence. It's not at 18th and Vine in Dallas. It's at 41st and Maple. So I think the chef might be from here, or is obviously
have a bunch
taking
of
from here.
Jazz decor all over the place.
We didn't get a tour of the place. You just saw him, but it's a rustic kind of music venue type place as well.
Dude,
18th and Vine Barbecue, but it's in Dallas. And it's Kansas City. I love it. Texas having to serve Kansas City style barbecue.
Blasphemy.
Take that.
Blasphemy. When's the next Super Bowl or Final Four in Dallas? That's the next time.
Something every year.
It's the next time I'll be down in Dallas is when that happens. Beards, what'd you learn?
I had something else, but I think I changed it just at the last minute now on the past 2 minutes of conversation. Josh, what year were you born?
1994.
Okay. So I learned that I think Mick doesn't know how old that Josh is because Happy Gilmore came out in 1996.
Yeah, 2 years old.
Yeah,
Well,
he's
not
2
2
years old.
Yeah,
That's your
totally in
generation.
his age range.
That's your generation.
It does. I would have guessed more like around 2000. Man, old.
2000. I was
So
thinking it was
that's my
kind of
brother
my
was born.
generation, but still, you still have seen it. Should have seen it.
Yeah, I mean,
comedy classic.
Look, if I could say avacadabra to all of these bits about how the movies I haven't seen were iconic to you, I would.
What would you say? Avacadabra?
Don't worry about it.
Okay.
The funniest
Avacadabra, it's the
from the
forbidden
weekend.
spell in Harry Potter. It kills people.
Josh, we start with you.
Oh, really? Oh,
In
good.
the funniest.
Well, here's my funniest.
What, beer's not going?
Shout out to he learned that you don't know how old I am.
Oh, this is learned.
The funniest of the weekend goes to the Seattle Kraken. I think it was on Friday. I don't know. It was after the show.
Seattle Kraken?
The Seattle Kraken played the Colorado Avalanche.
Wow.
Okay,
Well, the Kraken is one of the greatest nicknames in all of sports.
Incredible. Branding is great. Logos are great. Name is incredible. They play in Seattle. Colorado Avalanche play in
Denver.
After the Kraken beat the Avalanche, they tweeted, "Kraken country, let's glide."
I saw that.
Gosh, that's great.
Let's glide.
It was made
brilliant.
significantly better by it being Seattle to Denver once more.
Yes.
But let's glide. But Russell Wilson could be saying that at Avalanche games if he was playing well. That could be his cool thing. He could say, Avs country, let's glide. But no, Seattle took it from him, and then he took it from Colorado.
That's amazing. Funniest for you, Mick?
Funniest for me was from our buddy Jay Brady McCullough, who used to work at the Star. He's at the LA Times now, big timer. And I'm just going to chalk this up to a weak moment for him. But he wrote an actual column. And here's the lead into the column. It says, was I still feeling sensitive a week after referees made 2 bad roughing the passer calls on USC at Utah? Maybe. But Texas's 14 flags to Oklahoma State's 0 was too much to ignore. Ref bias against the Pac-12 and Big 12 departed is very real. Column.
My column.
Wow. And, I mean, just... it's hilarious to think that Texas and USC are getting job by calls. Let's get Mark Mangino on. Let's talk dollar signs.
That's right.
And, of course, in the column, it was very clear he didn't watch the Oklahoma State.
Oh, yeah.
He works for the LA Times. He didn't want the Oklahoma State Texas team. He just saw the stat line and said, okay, this is going to bolster my my issue with the USC-Utah game or whatever. But, yes, Texas did it. It was awesome. 14 flags. Like 9 or 10 were false start and offside, so they can't dispute that. Like 4 were PIs that were like judgment calls. 2 were obvious. 2 were like, okay, maybe you shouldn't have thrown the flag. But I mean, okay, whatever.
But all of those that they
and then
didn't
there were 3
call,
on Oklahoma State that were either offsetting or not accepted
or declined.
So,
yeah.
So technically, it's 14.
That's a good point.
To nothing.
It's a good point that the
and I'll take it.
They did throw a flag. Yeah, it was a good game for you to watch.
It was a good last quarter, yeah. First 3 was like, okay.
Yeah, much more entertaining than the game in Columbia's last 2 quarters.
Well, as I say, you had we combined your first 2 quarters in Oklahoma State's 4th. That would have been a great game.
God, what an embarrassment. I think, Josh, you said it in one of the breaks. Like, you typically don't get an SEC win and call it an embarrassment.
That's right.
Yeah.
But that's what Missouri was able to accomplish.
Hard to do, but special that they were able to do it,
You know how I know that Eli Drinkwitz is embarrassed by that? Is because before the game, the reports came out that Sam Horn was going to get some reps. He didn't. You know why? Because the game was way closer than they thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
They thought that was going to be a blowout, so Sam Horn's going to get some reps. Next thing you know, we can't put Sam Horn in because we may lose this damn thing. Embarrassing. What was the funniest for you, Beards? Was it that?
No, it was not. It was not. Let me set the scene here for you real quick. The Lakers are playing the Trailblazers.
Oh, this is good.
At home, they are up 1 with 35 seconds to go. They have the ball. Westbrook just got the rebound.
Yep.
He dribbles up. I'm going to set this and I'll play the audio
Please.
here. He dribbles up. He gets kind of like a half screen from Patrick Beverly. He goes in, and he's got like a 15-foot jumper here, and here is what that sounded like.
Lakers in rush into the front court. Russell pulled up. No, Russ, no, he missed it.
They had 17 seconds left on the shot clock. They ended up losing that game. There was also another angle where you can see LeBron and Anthony Davis, who's just crossed half court.
Yes. Yeah.
And
Palms to the sky.
LeBron does he throws his arms down, he turns around, and just slowly goes back on defense.
I can't. What am I supposed to do here?
It's the best.
Come on, what am I supposed to do with this guy? I had J.R. Smith. I had to worry about.
I wanted this guy, but don't ever say that out loud.
Oh my goodness, man!
It's not my fault. I made the team trade for him.
Oh, what a terrible roster construction.
I love it.
The team is playing in a phone booth. There's no spacing whatsoever.
Anthony Davis missed a 3 so badly in the corner it hit the top of the backboard.
Yeah, I'm sorry about your most recent favorite NBA team, Jason.
I appreciate it. Yes,
I feel
it's
for
not
you.
really NBA team. It's more NBA player that I follow and like.
Big Russ Wilson fan. I get it.
That's right.
Westbrook. Bro, you love Russ's, actually.
Love Russ.
Yeah,
he
was cooking there.
I was joking with Beards. I'm like, do you have ESPN? This is like in the 11 o'clock. I'm like at the break. I'm like, do you have ESPN up in there? He's like, no. I said, so first take, it reads on the bottom of what they're discussing, and it says, are Russell Westbrook's best days behind him?
Were you watching a rerun from 2012?
What are you talking about? Yes, move on. Next
Next
time.
Some time here.
Rapid fire.
We could spend more time on the Giants.
Rapid fires. Matt Ryan struggling. Yes. Russell Westbrook, best days behind him. Yes. Chiefs offense back. Yes. Here we go. Keep them rolling. Come on.
38 minutes talking about the Cowboys.
And now let's get into the Cowboys. Let's really let this thing breathe a little bit.
Did you watch in the MLB playoffs? Nope. Keep it moving.
Keep it going. All right, so my funniest, and I've been trying to figure out which one to play for the funniest. I probably should have just saved Mike Leach for the funniest, but I wanted to make sure it got played. Let's Let's just go with the Phillies fan here. Let's do. You know what? Let's do both of them. Let's do the Phillies fan and
your show. It's your damn show.
And the South Carolina Texas A&M broadcast. Let's do Phillies fan first. This is before the game starts. Phillies fans hanging out by the broadcast booth with A-Rod and David Ortiz and Frank Thomas are up there, and they're walking into the stadium, and this is in Philadelphia.
Alex Rodriguez, you stink, and I don't like you. Big Poppy, I like you, though.
That's pretty
walking
good.
In. Really good. It's Big Poppy and A-Rod smiling and looking at him and waving like, I get it, and Big Poppy's laughing. I like you, though.
I love the politeness of just, I don't like you
I
very
don't
much.
like you.
It's no cursing or anything.
No.
Just, I don't like you.
Big Poppy, I like you. This is coming back from break in the South Carolina Texas A&M game when they just showed a shot of one of the places, whatever the food eatery spots that has like all these huge oversized corn dogs.
The concessions,
whatever it is. But these huge corn dogs, they're like a foot long, right? And this is the broadcaster talking about the footlongs.
You got. Oh my gosh. Talk to me, dirty corn dogs. Are we on? Flip the field back at it here in a second.
Yes, you are on.
I thought he was doing a bit.
No.
So are we on? But you could tell the inflection in his voice and the long pause that he didn't know.
They were on, and
that's fine. That's
then
not
he
gonna
brings
get him in
it.
trouble.
Flip the field back here. Right, but hey, talk to me, dirty corn dog.
That's a best case scenario hot mic funny
Yes.
moment.
That's
Because
right.
he could have just been like, man, I'd bleep up some corn dogs right now.
Yes.
And that would be bad.
Yeah.
You don't want to do that.
Talk to me, dirty corn dog.
He's not going to have to go to the Tom Brenneman Island.
No, he does not.
No, talk to me,
hold
dirty
on, are we
corn
back?
dogs.
Flip the field back at it here with South Carolina, Texas A&M. All right, the best. We start with you, Mick.
One thing I have always, knock on wood, been really good at is open mic. Just always pretend like a mic is on and hot and be your best self.
Me too.
Corey Anderson was awful at that. I know a lot of the other people who are not good at that.
People wouldn't
Name
believe
names,
it, but Corey saved his worst stuff for off the air, and you'd be like, "What? Hold on, he said everything on the air. I know."
Yeah, yeah. Just how many times I would knock the mic away. Start talking about something. Like, don't you know about how these things work?
Walk away from the mic. Like I don't even want to be.
Beards is sleeping back there.
Beards is watching NBA Celtics highlights from 1998.
Associated with it. What was your best?
Best of the weekend. It was Dad's Day at my son's fraternity at K-State. Sorry, Dad's weekend. So a whole weekend. Wow. It was a lot of fun. And the Schaffers are the 2022 SIGEP Bags champions at Dad's weekend, beating 43 teams. A double elimination tournament going 12-0. Pure domination.
Unreal.
We gave up 73 points through 12 matches. Do that math. It's a little over 6 points per match. On average, we won in every match 21-6. It was pure domination.
Do you get a trophy? You take the bags home with you or anything?
We get a sweet new bag set.
You got the set?
Yeah, with the boards. It was a professional company that came in. There were like 8 bag stations. They had iPads to keep scores on. It was a professionally run bracket. It lasted 5 hours.
Good grief.
And so I, wasn't able to watch the first 3 quarters of the Oklahoma State game, but B, dominating at bags with my son. And so, yeah, it was good.
How's your rotator cuff right now?
After a while, the biggest thing was like bending over to pick up the bags. Your knees pop.
Worse. Lower
back injuries.
Yeah,
golly.
Beard, your best from the weekend?
My best from the weekend was House of the Dragon finished up last night, season 1. It was a good time. The only
what happened?
Well, I can't tell you that. The unfortunate thing, though, is we got to wait till 2024 for season 2.
I'll watch it by then.
That part sucks. Yeah, right.
I feel like that should be a shot clock review on Wednesday.
How many?
I think it will be.
How many seasons before it gets to the beginning of Game of Thrones?
It catches up.
Like 3,000.
Okay.
You joke. I think they're only doing like 4 seasons, though.
Oh, well, that's gonna leave.
But they're jumping ahead a lot, right? They'll jump up 100 years or so.
Yeah, they were in this season. I don't think they're doing that going forward, though.
That's gonna leave a really wide gap between that and then a lot of
Could
things.
you tell a
happen.
difference in like the wardrobe? Were the clothes just like a lot worse? Because it's hundreds of years than the Game of Thrones
It's not hundreds
clothes.
of years. It's like 10 years at most.
It's only 10 years?
No.
I thought it was like years prequel.
200 or 300
Oh, no,
years.
I mean the time jumps for like 10.
No.
Yeah,
He
I'm
means
saying,
he means
but,
compared to Game of Thrones proper.
No.
So there's no technological advance. How far is it between the two?
A couple hundred years, maybe? No,
So
not even. It's like 100 years, maybe.
So what we're wearing versus 100, 200 years ago is so different. Yet back then, everything, it just all blended together.
I always think about that, like, okay, like, I can't tell the difference between wardrobes in the 1880s and the 1860s, but people in the 1880s are like, oh, my God, I'm not wearing what my parents wore in the 1860s. Which was, I guess, Civil War garb then.
Right.
Her dress is above the ankles.
I couldn't tell you the difference in, 1810 to 1910, probably.
Probably not. And certainly not the 1400s or the 1500s. Who knows? Good luck. I have no idea.
Is that what they're in, roughly?
I don't know.
Yeah,
I have no
mystical.
idea.
Not even our planet.
Not even
our world.
Mick, I hate to tell you this. Not real.
Fiction?
It's made up.
That's odd. I thought it was
dragons.
Yeah, dragons are real. The dragons are real.
That's right. My best is the Current, winning yesterday, 2-0. They play Saturday.
They're like, this isn't a
DC.
Cinderella thing. They're like the best team.
They are. And it's a bye week, so the Mahomes whole family can go there and hang out. That was my real best. My other best is that Marshawn Lynch can't help himself. Marshawn Lynch.
You just had all these funnies you're spreading out.
He cannot help himself. Even when he acknowledges that he cusses, he
does it again.
Still cusses. This is an ESPN interview at the Cal game, and he is not happy with the fans that did not show up.
I'm from the Bay Area, but when I look around the stands and I see that these stands, how they were when we were here, that kind of got me on tip. I ain't feeling that, but so if it's some California Golden Bear fan, they need to start packing out this stadium.
I love him.
These
no way
MFers.
he considers an S-bomb
That's
an
a good
actual
point.
cuss word.
That's a good point. That probably should have been the other, is that Marshawn Lynch does differentiate between curse words that MFers, oop, my bad, S-bombs, Shanes, whatever, just that can be heard, right? What was your best?
My turn?
Yes. Josh.
Beards, take it off! Get naked, Beards! It's the Kansas City Current 2-0 victory, advancing to the NWSL Championship on Saturday!
He's still taking it off.
Beards is taking some time.
This was a lot of
We, as
work.
Team Heartland, brought a victory at Children's Mercy Park back at halftime of the media game. They were wearing the Reds, and the Current advanced to the championship. This team just got back here, Jason. This team just got back here. They got a real name. They got real branding, and they're in the championship. Hello. You can hear that live on Saturday night right here on Sports Radio 810 WH.
Also, Team Heartland!
Team Heartland!
It was a lot of planning for that.
There was.
It was a lot of work and planning. You guys was sitting there in those jerseys all day.
That's right.
For that.
Just for you to name it as your first fake, not real best. Thanks, Jason.
It's
no, it was my
kinda
first
warm
actual
here, too.
best.
You're probably burning up with that jacket on.
And this doesn't breathe as much for like a non-athletic body as you might like for it to on a more athletic one.
I was worried when you said, let's take it off, Beards.
Yeah,
you heard me.
That was odd.
Jason said we needed more cuts. We've been supplying some stuff in speed rounds this weekend and today.
Should be a video cut.
That's right.
Up there.
I'm sad nobody used Freddie the Falcon. The halftime of the Panthers game yesterday, that there were the little kids versus mascots football game, and there was a kid that was turning the corner heading for the pylon,
You get tackled.
and Freddie the Falcon just pummels him out of
it.
bounds.
I love it.
The kid gets up. Then he pushes him. The kid turns around and fires the football in the face of Freddie the Falcon. I'm sorry. I thought somebody would use that one. All right, more Zone next.
Take the show with you by listening live on 810WHB.com, in the 810 mobile app, or by subscribing to The Zone wherever you get your podcasts. You're in the zone with Jason Anderson.
Is this really Jason Anderson?
On Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Something quick. I just found out
What's up?
KSHB 41 is going to D.C. for the NWSL Cup final.
That's right. Let's go.
I think it's cool that they're like just it's like the Super Bowl. It's just a neutral location.
It's awesome.
To pick beforehand.
And it's on the.
I wish it was
Chiefs are
here.
off.
I do wish it was here.
Well, yeah.
Because I'm selfish. But second to that, I'm glad that it's not.
Go to DC.
In Portland.
Yes.
Go to DC.
Portland's got a longer plane ride.
Yeah, it's a West Coast team playing
Unless
on the
they
East
go,
Coast. You got to get into that.
Maybe they'll go around the Pacific, Asia, Europe.
I think it's still longer.
Atlantic. Yeah, it's still longer that way.
Still going to be longer. No matter
give it geography.
If they go east or west to get there, it's still going to be longer. The only way it's shorter is if they go east and the current go west.
Mm-hmm.
Jason, why don't you wear your winning current jersey today? From when your team won the media game.
Well, I figured I'll let the people wear the jerseys that didn't actually touch the ball in the media game.
Dubs and dub, baby. Let's ride.
Hi, guys. It's Andrew with